Hello everybody, good evening and welcome back as we have the Fight Night Arena continuing on from what we saw yesterday, day number 2, and of course the winner from our last week waiting in the wings to play up against the champion of this upcoming matchup. On my hold shift with me is Jamerson. We had a really interesting night last night, just kind of taking a look at how things went as Team LemonadeStand were able to defeat Adaptation, but Moon Raccoons able to take down Mamba Mode Gaming. Definitely provided for some interesting storylines coming into tonight's matchup.
Oh yeah, like every tournament organizer knows, whenever you have a fast match for your first one, you know you're going to be in for a long slog of an evening afterwards, and that's what we got. Moon Raccoons, definitely struggled a little bit to finish off their games. Went to map number 3, we had overtimes, and it was just a back and forth slugfest between the two teams. Ultimately, though, they did overcome Mamba Mode Gaming, and now they're going to be taking on LmndStand. And the big question is, how much was left on the field for Moon Raccoons? How much did they reveal to LmndStand? Which you have to imagine, having a break like we did after last night's games, these teams, if they're hungry enough, they're going to go back and study the tape.
Yeah. I mean, you also got a pretty big test here for Moon Raccoons, which is a lot of what was previously Demon Time from a couple of weeks previously. You're taking a look at players like Rebo, Stealthy, and Frosty that all played on that Demon Time squad back a while ago. But for LmndStand, we just got a really good look at them when they were playing at the FaZe Clan Invitational, part of the North American Ignition series, in which they gave a headache to a couple of different squads. They played Sentinels pretty close, able to take down Built by Gamers, and then giving a little bit of a headache to Gen G Esports as well, taking a map off of them. Definitely showcasing that we've got a major competitor on our hands tonight. It's going to be interesting to see if this Demon Time squad, now Moon Raccoons for the most part, if they could actually hold up to the test that LmndStand are going to bring to the table tonight.
Yeah, and LmndStand's performance last night definitely showed the kind of experience that they already have and the level of skill that they can play up to. And so the test is really going to be put up against Moon Raccoons at this point. I mean, we've had some great teams so far. Of course, we've also featured China Win here on Fight Night. And so it's been amazing to see a lot of these teams starting to compete against a lot of the Tier 1 teams and really giving them a run for their money.
For me, you obviously had a chance to watch these guys most immediately last night, but, there are some pretty big name players on both of these squads coming forward for LmndStand. You're really looking at, I think, Justin, who had a great performance in that FaZe Clan Invitational. I think he had like a 1.2 KD, mostly playing on the Rays through and through. But even on Moon Raccoons, like we mentioned, 3 of those guys that were on Demon Time, Frosty in specific has been a guy that really captured my attention a couple of months previously. Is there anyone else in particular that you're kind of looking at in both these rosters to potentially maybe take over this game?
Yeah, characteristically, we were looking at Moon Raccoons last night. I forget who their Omen player was, but it was a very different style of Omen that we kind of characterized as, it felt a lot like a Phoenix. It felt a lot like a Jet, very entry heavy, not his typical role, right? Where I don't get to often see very aggressive use of his shrouded teleport. And so seeing that coming out from him, seeing the kind of space that he was able to create, it felt very puggy. I don't know how well it will withstand up against LmndStand.
Yeah, and you've got Root on the other side. Speaking of that Omen, he usually plays either the Omen or the Brim. He's one of those more reserved guys. That's more of a controller, I would say, than an entry if you're kind of comparing those two roles side by side. So, yeah, it's really interesting. LmndStand, I think, is a squad that really did capture a lot of people's attention after the FaZe Clan Invitational, even though we didn't get a lot of time to see them on stream particularly. Just the results alone definitely kind of raised a few eyebrows going forward. So, taking a look at this set specifically, it will be a set for map number 1. One of which that we've seen the Omen, it's kind of a nice segue for us, has really kind of been a very big pinnacle as far as how you control some of the space, especially over by B main in that little garage area, and then back over towards the opposite side at the long A area. You're looking at that Omen to really kind of play spoiler or potentially entry like you had mentioned previously to try to get past those two areas.
Yeah, Omen's ability to just move around the map is pretty hard to match, especially when you have an Omen Jet, which I'm expecting both squads to really be picking up for this map in particular. Their mobility and ability to control mid and challenge for mid on both offensive and defensive sides, I think, is going to be unmatched. What I'm really looking to see is if either side pick up the Sage. I feel like this is going to be one of those matchups where we're going to see less and less Sage, and right now, with her falling out of the meta, it feels very thematic.
It's one of those interesting conversations as we take a look at our compositions. There will be no Sage, and LmndStand are essentially going to force in the Raze again. Not a character we often see on Ascent, so we'll see how that all pans out for them. But it will be Moon Raccoons starting things off defensively. And I think the big character to kind of look out for is Rebo. He's one of those guys that you would figure was going to be in the Cypher throughout the majority of the series. He ran that role for Demon Time, and he's going to be trusted to try to lock things down at the B site.
Yeah, Silva Cypher, no big question marks here about why you picked those up for this map. It's absolutely so good, especially for holding down the B site right now. It's Moon Raccoons starting off on the defensive end. For LmndStand, though, it looks like they are going to try and make a quick push onto the A site. I don't think this is going to be a contact play. This is just going to be a straight-up explode onto it, and the timing could work out really well as you've got 3 members already pushing up through Cat for the Moon Raccoons defense.
Well, here come the paint shells trying to open things up. You're going to get an off guard from the Jet. Very aggressive standpoint. This is going to have to be a retake situation for Moon Raccoons as the spike is instantly planted without any point of contact really whatsoever. Long flank trying to come through, but the Owl Drone will scout this out, and then immediately it'll be a cloud burst to block the line of sight. And how about this? Everyone's just going to stack up backside of the wine shop. And with that, you're going to get a nice little flame coming through. That'll be enough to block a lot and get a number of kills. The hot hands finding value early, and now numbers for the retake for Moon Raccoons.
Yeah, finally someone from the Moon Raccoons goes down, but with the 4K there, that's going to be a massive, massive pickup for Frosty, the player that you were really, you did highlight just before this matchup. And so now he's one ult orb away from that run it back, and so that's going to be massive going into the second round, possibly the third round, to use that very aggressively, cast them off guard and timings. I think especially for the timing here, once we get past this anti-eco round for the Moon Raccoons, going into that third round, that rifle round is going to be a huge boon for them. They can definitely challenge over here by Tree Room. They can definitely challenge over by A main as well. And so that aggressive timing with the run it back can be huge for Moon Raccoons to really stabilize on that third round after taking this anti-eco.
You know, I've got to get your take on this here, Jamerson, because a lot of the time with the Phoenix, you know, when they, especially defensively, get that ultimate so early, players, you know, teams like TSM, they like to use that aggressively to clear out space early. And sometimes it feels like it might not find the most efficiency in the world, but how about this? It's going to be the judge up close and personal, an aggressive play through B main for first blood.
Yeah, that was a nice push coming out from them, and you got to understand the situation that they were in as well. It's that anti-eco round. You're not facing off against too many huge guns, and so you've got that judge, you've got the range to work with, controlling B main early on. It's going to be really nice for them, but oh no! Uncharacteristic getting picked off there. And so the judge is going to get recovered. It's now a 4v4. LmndStand still trying to figure out where they want to take this spike as it is left home. The Cypher will be able to pick it up, and we'll figure out in just a moment where they want to take this.
And now numbers advantage swinging back in favor of our defenders of Moon Raccoons. Looking solid here. The spike's still in hand, so LmndStand's hopes of this offensive round not necessarily out of the realm of possibility yet, but time is becoming an issue. Phoenix player just watching through tree is going to get a point of contact. There's number 1. There's number 2. That'll be the spike down, immediately falling back just in case he needs the hot hands for the self-sustain, but not going to be needed here. 1v4 situation. LmndStand likely not going to be able to find a way to secure this round, although the spike, not quite able to get down in time as the kill comes through.
And that's a huge pickup for Skelly there, making sure they don't get the extra credits from that plant. And so they might be down a little bit on utility. As you can see, Brock himself is completely zeroed out on money along with Rude. And so I don't know if that makes a difference for what they can buy in terms of their smokes, along with their other abilities. But now Moon Raccoons, this is what I'm talking about. Third round buy. Wow, Frosty leading the charge there on the leaderboard. And so he does have to run it back. I want to see if they use this aggressively. And they're already poised over at A main to try and make this push.
Joke's over.
There's the call. It's going to come through very aggressively. It looks like there's a paranoia tossed in support. Shot start trying to zone things off, but, well, Frosty does what he came for. He gets one. The follow-up immediately there. First 2 kills tilt in favor of Moon Raccoons, and they've completely cleared out the A site while doing it.
Yeah, this is what we were expecting once we saw that 4K in that first pistol round coming out for Moon Raccoons, and now the third round by, they're going to be able to kind of avoid that awkward situation that a lot of teams run into after winning first that pistol and the anti-eco round, where they've maintained such a strong economy that they stay on the SMGs. So the Moon Raccoons, they do lose one in all of that. It's going to be a 4v3 as the execute comes down onto the B site.
The space is here, but Trapwire, Recon Bolt will provide enough of a vision for the Marshal to come into play. I'll do well to keep the numbers very much so in favor of our defenders of Moon Raccoons, who are looking poised to take this third round. Pending a miracle comes out. Last player stuck mid-market, no chance there. It's once again the Cypher locking things down. 2 kills to clean things up. Moon Raccoons rolling so far.
And typically we understand that a lot of times, of course, playing defensive on a map, starting off on the defense, typically is the favored pick, and especially for here on Ascent, where it wasn't a beta map. Teams don't have the same kind of time on it, but this is looking completely one-sided for Moon Raccoons at this point. They look like a completely different team. Yesterday, their defense was a little bit porous. I feel like their shots just weren't on, but today, they're starting off hot.
A lot of good control, and I would say more importantly, just kind of setting the tempo more than anything else. You've seen a lot of aggression come through this A main area. This time through, though, Justin will find his way to grab an ultimate orb, and this is a heavy stack with just a couple of players maybe threatening over towards A, but the judge is still in hand, and it's going to be after who's able to find the kill for first blood, leaving LmndStand now having to consider what exactly do we want to do. We lost our presence at B main, and we really aren't able to find anything over towards our initial A approach, although I say that, and it will be Brock who's able to find himself a kill, plus one more to follow up. You do have to deal with Frosty in a corner, and he will find a couple. But all that said and done, LmndStand will still have an ability to potentially get onto the A site.
That was a little awkward coming out from Ruth, though, pushing through that smoke with the knife out. Now, the spike still hasn't gone down as Cavern finds one more, and so this might be the first round for LmndStand to get onto the board, but he still needs to get the spike planted down, and Stealthy with the wallbang will ultimately finish him off as he goes for that wide peek. It's going to be another round on the board for Moon Raccoons, and LmndStand are definitely struggling here, but it's going to be another rifle round. This is where it's going to be really put to the test here. We know that in the last rifle round, in the third round of this half, you know, they started it all off, Frosty, with that aggressive push, but they run it back. He doesn't have it this time around. He's he's halfway there. And so they can play a little bit more slow. They can play a bit more for contact for LmndStand to try and get this next execute out. It looks like they are indicating for possibly going for a B-side push.
Well, it's interesting to see. As you had mentioned, that was a pretty successful round for LmndStand considering you're on pistols. You forced a lot of repurchases out, but like you mentioned, this is a pivotal round for them overall. You need to start getting something on the board here. And it looks like it will be a slow creep approaching towards the sky smoke mid-map. And, well, there's the opening shot coming through. Stealthy to find first blood by way of operator. Trade will be there, but you still have to deal with one more. It's the Omen. It's Afterball who's right here, able to find the immediate trade. Is he going to see? Walks right by one player, able to turn around, find the pick, and once again, defensively, the middle stays safe, and it will be the Moon Raccoons looking at a nice numbers advantage 4v2.
Ooh, Cavern does finally clap back, but still, numbers advantage way in the favor of Moon Raccoons, and without having a stage, of course, without having that heal, he might just opt for the save. He is rotating back for that spike, but he's got two people at mid, three actually. And so making this cross is going to be so difficult. He does go down, and now it's the lone member left on the B site by himself.
There's really not much you can do here. Try to exit, try to save the weapon. Maybe you could find a way to play off of it next round, but the economy is going to be crippled for LmndStand. This is so uncharacteristic from what we saw. I mean, just last weekend. I mean, they looked so good when they were playing up against some more elite squads, but Moon Raccoons absolutely have their number, and look at this. He's actually going to try to go for this. Rossi moving his way forward. Able to just watch the hot hands dissipate, and right as soon as he makes point of contact, he immediately falls.
Yeah, I don't think that was advised at all.
Yeah.
Especially seeing as how there was only about 12 seconds left, even at full sprint. I don't know if you can actually pick it up and get the plant at the same time. Going for the exits was probably the best strategy, sitting back on the back site of B. Now, they do have the money to buy once again, though. A little bit light there, as we do see two light armors on Rossi and Cavern. So being able to force up might actually catch off Moon Raccoons. But again, Moon Raccoons, it looks like they've got their number. One of the things I really want to point out is just how they've been playing this Omen, right? Omen on the defensive side typically plays more towards mid and has control over arches there, while it's usually the solo player who ends up being that anchor on the B site. And we saw Stealthy being able to get a really nice operator shot, an operator kill early on in the last round because they were keeping an eye out for all the Cypher cameras and stuff like that. And so this map, with how fluid it's been and how teams have been playing it, is really catching teams off guard. LmndStand, they thought they had the preparation. They were looking out for a lot of those early camera settings and stuff like that. But now it's being so unpredictable for them that everything is just going in the favor of Moon Raccoons.
It's very rare, I feel like, you're going to find this much value with the operator mid-map that we've seen from Stealthy. So if you can keep abusing this, it's going to provide a huge deterrence for LmondStand, not just when they try to approach B, but you guys have rotate all the way through spawn at times. A couple of nice trades do come through, leveling out the numbers. 2v2 we go. Spike attempted to be planted, and 1v1 happening over the middle of the map will tilt in favor of LmondStand. Their best chance yet at finding a successful round in one of the, if not first, rounds we've seen where they got the spike actually planted. So now it's just down to Rebo. How are you going to try to find a way to retake this? He's already made his way up pretty far forward by the shack, is able to avoid the recon dart for a moment, but now his place has been mentioned and known. He's going to try to cam clear out a little bit. I think he does see the player back boathouse, but the problem here is you've got to watch out for the flank, and he will find the first. Now time is the biggest obstacle. Double checks. Will not get the information, toggles the sound cue, challenge comes through, isn't able to win it, and LmondStand get on the board.
The worrying part about this, though, even though LmondStand are able to take up this round, it just came down to the wire once again. Even in that 2v1, it looked very sketchy there. And in terms of economy, they haven't done that much damage. As we can see, the buys do come out for Moon Raccoons. They're more than comfortable on the money. There's 5,100 still left on Frosty, who is still sitting on top brag, 11-2 currently. And now we're seeing the Odin coming out for Skelly. Typically, we see that being played over by B, but he's going to be holding arches with that one.
Well, at least initially, we'll see LmondStand trying to threaten over to B main, but watch out. We've seen this before. Aftermath. Oh, he gets figured out this time around. So now, for the first time in a while, LmondStand will walk away with first blood. And with that, they'll kind of take their advantage and look to make their play forward. Cyber Cage will come down. Neural Theft will give the position of all the current defenders, and we'll realize that maybe there's only one player to deal with, but the player that's on this side is our Brim. He's got himself an Odin plus an orbital strike. Will find one kill, but LmondStand still stalwart in this approach. Will got a couple of kills to work their way in. The Hunter's Fury will delay for a moment, but this will be a successful take for LmondStand.
Yeah, Spike does go down, but take a look at the HP on the side of LmondStand. So even though they've got the superior numbers, Frosty is still alive here. We know how hot he's been this match so far. Remember, 11-2 at the start of this round now. He just needs to clear this angle. He's got the flash out, and he actually wins that duel. And now it's a 2v3.
Tagged. Joke's over! You're dead!
Run it back will be popped, trying to work its way in. It's already found value as Frosty finds one. Run it back will be canceled out. Now it's the Hunter's Fury being channeled from a distance, trying to zone off any players from coming in the front door. And there is a tag off the recon, but no follow-ups yet. You're still holding the backside, and Rossi will find one and a second. LmondStand starting to find their momentum here on attack.
Yeah, I was getting really worried for LmondStand there once Frosty started really making that entry onto this site. A nice use of the right back, but unfortunately just was not quite enough there. The post-plant situation for LmondStand was just really too good. So now Moon Raccoons, they lost a couple rounds, but you know, they're getting back onto that money situation where they've got the last round bonus. They've got another operator in play. It's going to be Stealthy once again with that. He does have to go a little bit glass cannon with the light armor buy, but we know that once he starts hitting these shots, he's absolutely a beast on the operator. This time around, he's going to be playing it over by B main.
Aggressive playthrough as the showstopper will come out, and Justin's almost able to shake hands with Stealthy there before the showstopper was pulled. Able to find another one as Skelly was not quite ready for it. Now after that, he's actually all by himself inside the site as the middle's been completely taken pride of. After that, it's one. Sees a second up top, nearly gets the snap, but it would have been desperate and miraculous, I would say, beyond that if Moon Raccoons had a chance to hold on. So 3 in a row for LmondStand, and a lot of aggression, and now all of a sudden Moon Raccoons have to be a little bit cautious as their economy is taking a pretty big hit.
Yeah, this is where it's going to be that turning point for LmondStand, where they can continue to ride this momentum, and momentum, I think, is a key word here. They're changing up their pacing. They were playing way too reserved, I believe, in their first few rounds, where a lot of their executes came very slow. This time around, they're changing it up. You saw right there, opening it up with that showstopper with the paint shells going in. And now we'll see what happens as their economy, as their utility not as high. They don't have the same number of ultimates that they've been banking on, but you do have to also commend their usage of the ultimates and how they've been prolonging those power spikes with them over the course of the last 3-4 rounds.
Just as a brief aside, this is a strategy that I was kind of expected to see maybe a little bit more out of Justin. With how many smokes typically come down on this map, use the boom bot to clear some space and maybe get aggressive mid-map. What a shot that is from Stealth, be able to take the head right off. 5-on-4 situation, Moon Raccoons with the numbers. Ares in hand for Skelly as he's trying to lock things down outside of the garden, right by the tree room. Recon Bolt will also follow suit right in the same area. Brilliant incendiary comes through. Brock forced a challenge, and that actually seems to do fine. We're able to find one more. Brock into the smoke, able to find another. Rebo barely able to hold on for one more kill, finds himself a weapon. Neurotheft will come out, but is not able to survive for long enough. And what needed to be a 1v3 won't have a chance to get off as LmndStand continue to roll 4 in a row.
Yeah, LmndStand are looking like a completely different team from what we saw in the first 5 rounds. The first 5 rounds, they looked a little bit more demure, a little bit more reserved, but now they're making sure they're maintaining map control, like you said at the beginning of at that last round, in control over arches, using that boom bot to really clear out those angles. We know how Aftermath really likes to lurk in those angles and hold tight, but being able to get in there, and especially with how quickly their executes are coming out now, LmndStand look much better for it. Aftermath, though, I'm going to try and get aggressive with the sniper over at B main.
Skelly once again mid-map. Aftermath, like you mentioned, Operator, very aggressive challenges. He's making his way forward. Hammer will find him. Dealt with, but that's going to shrug the Operator off. But more importantly, LmndStand's going to have the information. Hey, there's an Operator not just lingering mid-map, but we also have the Omen holding on to one at B main. We might want to reconsider how we want to approach this attack.
Now we're seeing Moon Raccoons, even though they went for that kind of cheeky, aggressive push over at B main, they're playing a little bit more reserved themselves. They're giving up some pressure over at Catwalk, and now take a look at the positioning from the Sova as well, all the way back on the A site. And so now LmndStand, it looks like they've made their decision with 55 seconds left to go. There's going to be little time to work with as they rotate the spike on over to the B side.
Justin's going to distract, throw the boom bot over towards Rafters just to kind of keep the consideration of Moon Raccoons there. But Aftermath says, here's your consideration for you, friend. But now that they know the Operator's playing more mid-map, this should be a hit. Rebo's going to be able to scout things out. Cyber Cage comes through one way in fashion. Orbital Strike trying to open up some space. And how about this? It's also a Blade Storm coming through with the Tailwind. That'll do well for one, but Rebo in a corner will find 2. Moon Raccoons looking to hold on. You've only really got to deal with one more. It's the Jet of Brock, who's not quite able to get the job done with the Blade Storm. And with that, 3 kills come through for Rebo as Moon Raccoon's able to bounce back.
And I love the angles that were held by Moon Raccoons. Typically, when you see that one way coming out from the Cypher, you know, most people are playing it on site, right? And you don't really see them holding that angle on the left side of the door. Yeah. So they just didn't check it. And that's why you have to remember to always check your corners. Always check your corners. Even though you feel like you've played this against, you played against this take so many times, you played against this defense so many times, you still have to play the fundamentals here. And so now we're setting up that one way. Once again, Rebo will change up that angle. As it looks like right now, LmndStand 5 stacked over at A main.
Ballsy call. Skelly's here, incendiary. Going to be triggered up and put down pretty preemptively. Everyone's going to be able to avoid that from LmndStand. It looks like a Hot Hands has also gone down nearly in the exact same position, and that's really valuable for LmndStand. Sure, you go for a full stack, but you've been able to bait out a couple of smokes and both area denial fire stances. So now all of a sudden, you've got a lot of time to play with, and you can kind of flex knowing that both the Phoenix and the Brer are playing by the A site.
They've done a good job. They've already forced the rotation out, and now as things do settle out, though, there is an opportunity, if they want to go back to A, as that Brim is rotating back on over to mid, try and maintain that control once again. We'll see if these two duelists going in over at A main can find something. That might be their ability to get onto the site, but Aftermath holding this close angle once again.
Does still have a paranoia to play with. LmndStand is absolutely trying to flex the middle of the map. Aggressive peak. I would almost argue maybe too aggressive considering the circumstances, but hey, it pays off. So now a 5-on-4 situation, 25 seconds to play. You got to make your move. Skelly does get taken down mid-map, so here comes the hit. Neurotheft's going to come through to be able to register where exactly all these defenders are, and it will be a hit. Moving right through mid-market over towards the B site. Rebo's going to get a lot of very valuable information off of his camera, looking for a potential spam-through spot. And it looks like he's just a bit off with his angle, and with that, LmndStand are able to get the spike down.
Here.
But he did buy enough time, right? Even though they recognized that it was just the one on site, they still took it very slowly. And so now it's going to be a full 3v3 on the post-plant positionings here. And they're stuck. They weren't able to set up for it. He kept them nice in a cage. And so now it's just going to be the firing squad coming through. But Rossi picks up one onto Rebo.
And as this is going to be maybe too hard to break, you don't have the shock darts coming through in time. They do find a way to get credit for one kill, but LmndStand able to spread the site completely around for the post-plant setup, and there just wasn't enough information gathering or enough deterrence as far as, again, that incendiary would have been really valuable, I feel, there for the retake, just to try to clear off some of the site, but no full committal, and LmndStand able to do very well to get the round back into their favor.
Yeah, full committal is, I think, the key phrase there. It's just, they were dilly-dallying at the choke when they should have just been honestly pushed right onto the site. Instead, you saw two people kind of stacked on top of each other and getting shot down by Rebo for back sight. And so right now, Moon Raccoons looking a little worse for wear as we're entering the final round of this half. LmndStand really bringing this back. Remember, it was what, 6 in a row for Moon Raccoons, 4 in a row for Moon Raccoons. LmndStand though, having a really good offensive side, I would say, especially considering the beginning.
Well, for LmndStand, you've got the Showstopper Hunter's Fury to use. On the flip, Moon Raccoons just dealing with the Hunter's Fury for now. Here comes the Showstopper. Recon Bolt coming through. Hunter's Fury to clear out Garden. It's going to be a trading of these lightning arrows back and forth, and coming out on top so far as LmndStand. A lot of space cleared for Justin, even though he doesn't find value out of the Showstopper. That'll be enough room gained for LmndStand to not just carry the numbers, but now they can set up in their post plant as the spike goes down.
And they were able to hold on to the bomb buddy as well, and so that can delay them quite a bit as well. Shock darts almost tagging Rebo as Frosty's down to 45 HP, wins that first duel onto Root.
A lot of space gain. Now it's going to be a double hit coming through the doors. But you got to get through this cyber cage. Frosty holding it, able to find the first, spamming, not going to find the second. Rebo for 2. Frosty making his way on. Justin at distance, able to find one as he holds opposite corners in hell with his teammate of Brock. And up top, Rebo's gotten at least a little bit of information, but time is absolutely not his ally. So he'll desperately try to move on forward to try to find the kills. Not going to have time for a defuse, even if he were to have found the second. So with that, we'll go into our second half in a complete deadlock tie, 6-6.
Great delay there on that final round. LmndStand. That is some perseverance. That was 5 in a row. 5 in a row for Moon Raccoons, starting off on their defensive end. But it looked like LmndStand were able to find their footing, able to play comfortably once again. Moon Raccoons had basic map control during the first half of their defensive side. LmndStand, though, were struggling. Their takes were a little bit slow. Their executes were slow on A side and on B side, respectively. But once they started feeling comfortable, once again, taking control over mid, you saw Moon Raccoons really starting to pull back, play a bit more defensive. We weren't seeing Frosty get as aggressive as we saw him in that first 3-4 rounds. And I think characteristically, that was probably the big issue. By the third round, Frosty had 11 kills. Yeah. By the remainder of that half, he only picked up 3 more.
Definitely finding a way to slow him down in some form, as how about this? Aggressive hit coming through A rafters. The only player here to deal with this is going to be Root. Fortunately, they do close the door, so Root is going to get some information here. There's a nice headshot for 1. Looking for a second, able to grab that. He's going to have some support here now, trying to spam through the curveball. Not going to happen. Frosty will find 2, but at least Brock is there to keep LmndStand's numbers good, plus the paint shells to add a little bit of extra insult onto the injury. So now we're just left with 1. Moon Raccoons down to a 1v3 situation. No spike either to play with for Stealthy.
And I think typically when I look at LmndStand, from what we saw last night in particular, Root has been a standout player more on the defensive side, and so this does work out for them, I think. LmndStand now. We saw Root more come alive, especially when he was playing as the anchor. He was a very heavy anchor for them. I believe it was on Splits where he had one of his best performances. Fairly quiet on the offensive side, which is why we're seeing him, of course, on the bottom side of the leaderboard. But I feel, after this half, he should start making his way on up, as it's a pretty even spread, actually, across the board for them. Cavern sitting at a top frag with 12 kills for LmndStand.
Well, Justin's going to go for an aggressive boom bot, just to see if anyone decides to try to grab this A orb, and you'll actually give enough space to be freed to get into the wine area. He's got some help immediately right next to him. That's going to be Brock, who's to his right. And there are members to deal with here from the attack of Moon Raccoons, including the spike carrier. So could be a major point of contact. Revo, you can see, is paying some attention to this, but not going to make a difference. There's the kill, Justin, for a second. That's why he was one of the big top fraggers for the side of LmndStand at the FaZe Clan Invitational Showcase right there. Last player left after that, trying to get something to talk about, but nothing going to come through. LmndStand looking good defensively.
Now, this is where I wonder, with LmndStand holding on to those pistols, do they go for double operator? Doesn't look like they quite have the money for that, and so it's going to be an early judge coming out from Brock, and whatever. It's a jet with a judge. We don't question that whatsoever.
It's interesting as well, you know, considering how slow of a start this map was for LmndStand. This was one of the maps that they were able to take 11 off of Gen G in their group stage in Group A. So definitely starting to see that they're coming more into what we, I won't say came to expect, but at least were kind of exhibited in the past weekend. How about this, though? LmndStand looking to get very aggressive. The Boombot will be able to get some kind of value that, okay, there's a Phantom sitting over towards the long side of Gelato. But nobody's pushed into the sky smoke, so it looks like it will be a defensive retreat here for LmndStand, not want to give up too much information.
And I like they try to go aggressive on this, what should be the rifle round now, as they back away Root will to keep himself safe. But they still have 4 grouped over here by the A side for Moon Raccoons. A little bit of information gathered by them, though, as they do find out Aftermath trying to push up their mid.
I believe Cavern actually heard the Omen shrouded step come through. Yep, he's going to try to spam through the sky smoke. Also had some paint shells to support him to try to clear off this mid archway, but that's not going to deter Aftermath all that much. He's still flirting with the idea of pushing through this. While all this has happened, though, this is all intel gathered. The spike you can see on your minimap is still dropped back by spawn. So for Moon Raccoons, you've got to collect this and make a decision. It looks like they are going to eventually start to wrap back over towards B main.
They use a lot of utility for this as well, and so I like what Moon Raccoons are doing. They were able to force it out with some smokes, and now they're making their way on over to the B side. It's about being explosive, though. We saw what happened to LmndStand where they were playing too slow. Aftermath with a nice flank, getting that first pick onto Justin. That's going to clear out CT side, and so they can push in without having to worry about that angle quite yet.
Only the Cypher here defensively, and Rossi actually nearly gets a collide on the 2. Time now becoming a consideration. Cavern entering in, will find one, gonna get spammed through the smoke. Spike does go down successfully. Frosty tried for a run it back to try to clear things out in front of this shed. Not gonna happen. So retake still very much so possible, although Root loses his life. They'll be down to 1. And Brock in a weird spot. Does have a lot of utility to play with. The Cloud Bursts go out. He deals with the Recon Dart. Tailwind, double updrafts available for him. Going to try to scout things out over the top of the roof. I don't know if he saw much, if anything at all. And now he gets the information on 1, but I believe he actually gets digged through the wall there. There's the first opportunity. Did he try to just jet forward to deal with this? Going to take the challenge, but Stealthy holding the corner will get the favorable timing. And things got tight, but Moon Raccoons able to bounce back and get themselves their first attacking round.
LmndStand, though, they did a good job in saving up their economy. So even though they take that loss, take a look at that operator by coming out from Brock here on the defensive side with that jet. We'll see exactly where they want to play it. But it's about the rest of their team right now. Looks like Cavern struggling a little bit on the money, so he's going to go for that SMG. It's going to be the judge play for the Raze player. Where do they move their players around for this? It looks like Jet will be going over toward the mid with that op.
Revealing area.
Now actually moving all the way over to the B side. This is a very heavy defensive stack. It looks like there's some reconsiderations as far as where we're going to move the pieces for LmndStand. It's going to be Jet, like you mentioned, just kind of holding things on the very passive side. We'll have a little bit of light help as the trap wires and cameras are also in place to assist if there is a hit coming through. But for Moon Raccoons, once again, it's Aftermath through the middle of the map. He's used both of his his start covers to get into position to make his play forward, and now all of a sudden LmndStand have to be worried about the potential of a flank coming through the middle of the map.
Yeah, it leaves your defensive side very vulnerable here, and so you're seeing the cover coming out, the Cypher rotating on over, as he does need to go over and cover that. Right now, though, Moon Raccoons have full map control, and so they can take this wherever they want to. The Cypher traps will slow them down if they try to go for the B site, but again, they've got market to work with, and if Aftermath can get another pick here over by defensive spawn, that'd be massive.
Shots come through, not able to really connect with much, though. Paranoia is now going to be tossed out, but the Jet has rotated over to help, and I don't know if Brock's position will be known. Well, now it is, as the shot goes just a bit wide. Brock taking a bit of damage. Orbital strike will be placed actually right in front of the A arches. This will do well to create some space, but the problem is nobody was watching the tree room, and now Moon Raccoons 4v1 situation. Spike should surely be planted. And interestingly enough, Brock's going to contest this a little while longer, gets tagged up, has to deal with the dart, and as soon as he does, Aftermath comes through for the clean kill, and he immediately swapped for the Spectre going into the operator pickup.
Moon Raccoon slowly picking them apart, and it's really up to Aftermath here. We were talking about him all around, and we were on his POV the entire time. This mid battle has been massive. He's taking it up against Justin, and now as well, I believe it was Cavern, right, who was playing it. But at this point, it looks like they need to pay a bit more attention to that. I don't think the operator play is going to work out at quite the way they want it. But here on the anti-eco round, Moon Raccoons have a chance of taking back this lead.
Pretty pivotal round coming through. LmndStand, you really don't want to give up another spike plant. If you can find a way to take away and force a couple of repurchases, even better. But once again, Moon Raccoon, same default setup. Aftermath could use both of his dark covers, getting forward through the mid archway. How about this, though? Cavern's going to see one. He was actually more worried about the camera than he was Rebo himself. So another first blood party be tilted in favor of Moon Raccoons, who now can get a little bit more aggressive, knowing that the Sova's down.
They still have Spike at home, so they haven't really full committed yet. I think they're just trying to bait out a little bit of utility here, but the B side is still left alone, as it might just be a sell for the fake onto the A side. You're taking a look at the stack coming out from LmndStand as they've moved all 4 members here, left B completely alone.
Yeah, big gamble, knowing that they don't have the numbers advantage, plus the weaponry to really combat, and Frosty, he's able to get a big entrance here. Rebo and Aftermath able to find a couple more. Last player left alive is Brock. He's sitting in a corner, and he's done well to stay alive, but the problem is he's holding on to a shorty. We'll see if he gets challenged on an exit. Shock Dart will clear off a little bit of the angle, and the shots will now definitely know that, okay, Brock is sitting here with some sort of a shotgun. Now the shorty will absolutely be gathered as far as the intel, and it looks like from here, Moon Raccoons will just give him the angle and play for a post-plant exit through what is initially the defender-sided spawn.
Yeah, they really don't have to challenge that at all. They're not going to be taking much off of his hands. What, 200 for the shorty? No big losses there. As Moon Raccoons, they've really rallied back here, swapping off onto the offensive end. You know, we saw them struggling towards the tail end of their defense, but now it's Moon Raccoons who've regained map control, regained all sorts of initiative in this matchup. LmndStand are looking like the Turtles once again. The ninja defuse? No. that's the one thing. With this game being so new, and of course, you know, always we've got the comparison to CSGO. We don't get to see many ninja diffuses.
No. Definitely not, at least not as of yet. And it kind of bodes the question, like, do you wonder at some sort of point in time, like, will the sounds be either more deafened, or will we still see the ultimate charge, you know, kind of gathered as public information? Same thing with, like, the economy. Like, is that going to be always mutually given, or is that eventually going to change? I don't know if it's a conversation that's really kind of been picked up much, but as we're taking a look back forward into this next round, for Moon Raccoons, a lot of your success has been on Aftermath in the middle of the map. And really for LmndStand, you have to wonder, are they going to keep allowing him to get forward in the middle of the map like this?
Yeah. We almost saw Rossi going down early. Once again, focusing down that camera now as Stealthy does have backup as he's trying to push up through B main. He's going to try and get some information here. Doesn't see anything, but it's kind of typical here when you go in with that recon drone. Finally spots one out over at CT spawn and goes for the Feast of the Hunt, but now will he get anything with it?
Looks like everything is mostly whiff, but it at least has opened up some space for Reba to get through. Neurof going to be able to follow up to see how the rotation's going to come in. Plus, where are the last defending members? Rossi, big role to play here. Needs to stay alive for as long as possible. Finds himself able to snap to a second incredible shot, and he may have done just enough. Frosty in a corner, going to be in a really tough position to be dealt with, and especially when you've got an operator looking over the top of you. And just when you thought that Rossi was going to be able to do enough to allow LmndStand to rotate in, Stealthy says not today.
Yeah, great post-plant positions coming out for Moon Raccoons. After that now, and after Matt, get a little cheeky. But he should be. Honestly, he's been doing so well this matchup. And, you know, it's the kind of control that he's been able to afford for his team. That mid that's kind of been relinquished mostly by LmndStand, and now we're seeing the same thing that happened to Moon Raccoons on their defense. LmndStand really turtling up, playing a little bit more defensively here as the aim duels aren't going their way anymore. And now they've kind of lost a lot of their own character. They've lost the pace that they've been playing at. And so Moon Raccoons, now with 2 rounds in the lead, they're close to taking this match.
Different look here from our Omen player on the attack of Aftermath. He's going to throw out the same dark covers, but he's actually not playing the middle of the map this time. He's going to alleviate that and open up space for maybe Rebo to make a play, whose camera is being used to scout the middle of the map. And how about this? Cavern's getting a little frisky with the potential of coming out of Cubby. Shots were decent, but no headshots coming out Rebo for first blood. He's just able to sidestep away from the paint shells before his life was traded away.
And I love the approach that Moon Raccoons have had in terms of their side stakes, right? It's been alternating between A and B, and so it's been very hard to predict as we do see that shrouded step coming out from Aftermath. He's going to push up to heaven now. There's a smoke to contend with, but he is no stranger to just pushing smokes now. Bomb Buddy's going to help him clear this one out, as Aftermath will hold the line and take out Justin. Moon Raccoons now on the verge of taking an 11th round.
No charges.
Looking good as Brock also not able to control top side of heaven. Stealthy, nice shot again as the operators from Moon Raccoons have been lighting things up. Root trying to do what he can to force a couple of repurchases. He would need to pick up a weapon, you feel like, though, if he's going to try to converge on this. Deals with the recon bolt. Going to get some information on the Skelly outside. Sniper shot misses once more. Camera's going to be in a position to also scout him out, and yeah, really not much room for Root to do much with. He does find one more pick. Going to give this a good old college try. He's been tagged up by the dart. We'll try to stick on top of this, but there's the instant trade. Moon Raccoons will be able to get the operator back into their hands just before the spike detonates and takes it away from bringing it into the next round.
And even though we were getting the teabags and the fun just a round earlier, you're seeing the proper due respect that Moon Raccoons are giving LmndStand, in that even though they have the numbers advantage, they were still playing the objective. They were playing peeking one by one, trying to delay us for as long as possible, play for that win condition, for that spike. Now LmndStand, though, in this rifle round, we'll see if they can try and bounce back. They're now 3 rounds in the hole up against Moon Raccoons, even though they started off pretty well. As I want to see how they change this up. They're going to be sending their operator once again on that jet over to the B site. A little different look here, as typically, like we said, it's a Cypher, it's a Sova who usually plays that anchor over on that site.
And really, again, you took a look at the economy. This is essentially the game right here, you feel like, for LmndStand. You lose this round, you're going to be pretty crippled. The force buy maybe into a couple of stingers or pistol upgrades, but this is really the game you feel like for LmndStand. So must-win round coming through. Cavern's going to check everything, and just this is one of those things, because Aftermath has been so aggressive in the middle of the map. Now you're forced to use this Aldrum to clear off space that you don't normally anticipate seeing it come through. Run it back for Frosty. Paranoia actually connects with him. Rossi able to find 1 kill. Hunter's Fury behind it. You're also going to get the showstopper for Justin, who's able to clear off some space, plus get himself an elimination. So now all of a sudden it's really just on the Aftermath to try to do what he can to open up things from the backside of heaven, but the numbers are good for LmndStand, and they've held off the initial approach. They deal with Aftermath, and now a 4v2 breaks loose.
Yeah, Brock's rotation from B ultimately works out for them, as Aftermath going for that kind of trademark, very pug style Omen teleport. Now it's coming down to the 2v2 as Stealthy finds one with a shock dart. Justin Nova going down. They've got the spike. They've got 20 seconds to work with, but they have to commit onto the A site.
Oh, what a shot that is from Stealthy. He finds the other as well. That will be round number 12, and an incredible moment from Stealthy to clean up the final 2. And now take a look at the economy. There will be a couple of rifles purchased, but it's not going to be full armor, and you figured beyond that the utility will likely also not be fully invested into.
That's incredible. And that's off of understanding where Stealthy was rotating from, right? Aftermath got that flank. He was able to pick off one at Heaven. And then, of course, he ultimately went down to the operator rotating in from the B sites. Having that information, Stealthy checking an angle where 99 times out of 100, I am not going to check. Like, there's a very small chance I ever go for that kind of flick. But it's that team gameplay. It's that communication that comes out for them. Frosty, though, looking to make that entry onto the B sites. This is what I'm talking about. The alternating takes coming up from Moon Raccoons.
Rossi trying to spam hot hand's going to get there, but Drog able to deal with Aftermath. Rossi one more, trying to spam through the shed. Rossi in a bit of trouble, but is able to keep his life, and that's pretty crucial as the Cypher player. We'll get a little scrappy battle right outside the market. Even trades coming through, but the numbers looking good. At least they were for LmondStand. Now down to a 2v2, and Stealthy still alive, which, if you've seen anything over the last couple of rounds, should at least tell you that the chances of Moon Raccoons securing this round are pretty high. And the shock dart won't clear out too much space.
Yeah, they are taking their time, though. Knowing that the utility is out there for Stealthy, it's pretty, you would imagine, telegraphed that it's still on this B side, especially with the spike. And so the rotation's coming back around for Justin as he spots out Rebo. Now it's a 2v1. LmondStand trying to keep this map alive.
And they should know that Stealthy's somewhere on the outside of the sidewalk. He had a Hunter's Fury to maybe play with, but he's going to take the aggressive challenge down low. Are you kidding me? How do you win that one? Now is a 1v1. Moving very quickly. Not a lot of time to play with. Goes to the ghost. Stealthy, wow. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. 13-8 will be the final, but go ahead and give the crown over to Stealthy for the final performance he just put on those last couple of rounds.
Yeah. Started off a little bit quiet, but I mean, that's typical of the Sova player, honestly, but ended up 21-10-3. And what a performance. I mean, it was Frosty that started it off, right? He was top frag. He was 11 kills by like the third or fourth round. Slowed down just a bit, but it was Aftermath and Stealthy that really came in. We saw on their offensive side, Aftermath creating a lot of space for his team. It was one of the sole reasons why that they were able to take that first 12th round, sending it to map point. And Stealthy, of course, clutching it out was the main reason why they were able to take this at the end. But what a great performance. And honestly, it was down the line. The only real quiet person, I guess, on this squad was going to be Skelly there, who's the bottom frag. But, you know, can you blame him? Everyone else on his team was just really firing up.
It's one of those I'm just happy to be here kind of moments. So you see your teammates that are popping off like that. But that's map number one. Again, this is a best of three. So LmondStand, a team that, at least for me, in my personal kind of experience, I was expected to be the favorite going into this one. They're going to have to find a way to bounce back. It's going to be Haven up next when we come back after this 3-minute break.
Here by Goomba Squad. Molly gonna cut them off, coming up glass. One shot, two shot. Oh, gets taken down. Wow. But the flame do the third.
Revealing area.
Two players here, and no. No. Left side is gonna hold three players in tight team. The one that shows up. Pancakes puts down Retro, but the Spike is able to get on down. That's Trips, baby. Pancakes bringing it. Ooh. And the over. Uh-oh. They're going to get the Spike down here, it looks like.
Whatever. Yeah, they just get the Spike plant. They get the ultimate charge. Nothing else, really.
Yeah, that's it. Pancakes. Nice job. Pancakes, too. Meanwhile, Retro getting involved. An easy three-piece into. Chen and Wen have got good positioning here. Ooh. And Pancakes is a big part of it. On the side, gets one to the back and one to the front. But, hey man, I'm here for the low-tier guy, for the low-tier characters. Ooh. CFB, though, just getting it done down mid. Looks like blue team grabs a kill. Red team's able to answer on back. Three players alive. Making two to the defense. Here comes the smoke from China Wen. And all of a sudden, D-Cop's going to bust onto the scene. Getting two! Just like that. There's some information. We got to look behind them. Also up. That's a smoke. D-Cop goes right on through. Default spike position. Looks like blue team grabs a kill. Red team's able to answer on back. Three players alive. Make it two.
Already seeing the rotates coming out. Kev is ready for this. Takes the first shot. Hits it. Ooh!
1, 2, 3, baby. Kev money. 4 Vs, 3 Ks.
One of it is, of course, on the offense. Ooh, Shanks. Don't even have time to talk about it there. He picks up 3.
2 scattered across the map, and Shanks is actually going to pick up Infred, who's making the rotation from B. Melio Mariah.
Nice sight. Here's the first spray. Shanks with another one. But it's J-Mo hold it down.
Ton of players here. Wow. Everyone's from spot up, making the rotation now. 2 are going to be on the other side. 1 goes down. Good shots from Shanks. Now on the site is underrated. Looking for the plant. Well, spot up has 1 left in the smoke. Down they go.
Retro trying to go for the peak. They were going for the timing. That was it. Nice jump down, but what a flip on the turnaround.
Plenty of players trying to push through this smoke, and they will.
Hello and welcome back as we're dealing with our second day of the Fight Night Arena here with Giant Slayer. My whole shift with me is Jamerson. We're through map number 1, where again the winner of this matchup goes up against our defending Fight Night champion in Pretty Boyz. And a little bit of a surprise, I would say. I just had in my mind LmndStand dropping the Ascent at the score of 13-8 after not able to really get things going defensively whatsoever. They got the pistol, Jamerson, but that was about it.
Yeah, last night's eye test really didn't show us much at this point, as we did see, of course, in that Mamba Mode Gaming matchup, Moon Raccoons did struggle, especially on Ascent as well. But here up against LmndStand, it was a completely different thing. Once we swapped off onto their offensive side, we got to see a bit more of the characteristic Moon Raccoons gaming that we saw last night, where it was Aftermath creating a lot of space. With that, of course, towards the tail end, I felt like there was a little bit more of an answer coming out from LmndStand for his very aggressive play with it, but it did kind of change the way that they played. They looked a lot more uncomfortable, and I think that's going to be the key to this matchup, keeping them on their toes, keeping them uncomfortable.
Again, it is a best of 3, so map number 2, it's going to be Haven coming forward, and after what I would say was a relatively decent attacking half from the side of LmndStand, it took a while to get things going, but by the tail half of that first half, I guess the second quarter, if you will, they're able to string together a number of rounds in a row and really kind of showcased what they're able to do once they start to get those offensive cylinders moving in the right direction. So for Haven, a map that is a little bit more loose when it comes to the opportunity available on the attacking half, you're hoping that they're going to be able to put something together here that's a little bit more representative of what we kind of figured they could bring to the table. But all of that said, when you've got Stealthy who's sniping like he is for the side of Moon Raccoons, I would be terrified to see an operator turn up in his hands early.
One thing we did have to note when we had the post-game interview with Moon Raccoons was that, they felt that Sage was a crush, and they typically don't play the Sage. And now that does limit the kind of plays that you have, especially here on Haven, where we got to see a lot of it during beta. We got to see a lot of it during launch. And we know the typical kind of the B push that comes out with the Sage, right? The default, you wall off one side, you get the plant, and you move on. That kind of option is no longer left for you, so we're going to see a lot more, it looks like, A and C pushes more often than not. I want to see if LmndStand have an answer for how aggressive Aftermath is, of course, on that Omen. Once again, we got to see him last night as well here on Haven, being super aggressive, having a lot of control on the offensive side as that Omen in Garage. Now, will they be able to answer back for that? Again, they need to slow it down. They need to try and get the pace back into their favor, and so we'll see what kind of adaptations LmndStand have for this map.
Be the case. And well, it's also interesting to note, and this is obviously not a map that we'd come to expect it, but for Cavern, he's been a little bit all over the board as far as what kind of character he wants to play, as he actually pulled out, I think, one of the only, if not the only, Viper play that we saw during that FaZe Clan Invitational just this last weekend. This time it will be the Sova, one of his more regular roles. We will still have Justin on his, I would say, stapled Rays, and double smoke setup for the side of Moon Raccoons. They found a lot of success with this last time around. It just comes down to, can Skelly be a little bit more active this time, as he was the bottom frag, but like you had mentioned, wasn't necessarily a need when it came down to him being a major participant in the kill feed.
Yeah, and Stealthy swapping off that Sova, going on over to that Jet, as we do typically see him do, as it looks like it's a 4-man stack, and they're still wary of an aggressive push coming out from A short. It's a 3-man stack by LmndStand here on the defense, though.
You do have your Jet player with the shorty running the outside. Aftermath dealing with the camera that's nearby, and Brock will find one. Cloudburst comes down, not quite able to get away as the hot hands was making life difficult. The Ghost will be the termination of his life from Frosty, so an even trade early. And a lot of information gained really for both teams as far as who's still in position to possibly hit this A site.
Yeah, just not fast enough with that tailwind in the updraft to get out of there, which I felt like that's what the game plan was, playing the shorty in that position right now. Rebo, though, looking to challenge over at mid, but it's Cavern pushing aggressively by doors.
Recon Bolt coming off of cooldown. 50 seconds to play. Justin also long rotating right back into the C site. And a pretty even spread for Moon. Rossi gets aggressive, just trying to scout things out in the bottom side of A short. do well for a kill onto Frosty. So now a numbers advantage coming through, and Rossi says, let's try this shorty out. And for Moon Raccoons, not really committing yet. Still all three players on opposite sides of the map from one another.
Yeah, they've got 27 seconds left to work with, and the spike is over by A short. Stealthy has to back away with that tailwind, and it looks like, oh, the call might have been made. As you saw Rebo being able to push up their garage. He's got C cleared for them, and so now it's going to be the 3v3 retake. Will they be able to get the spike down as the rotations are coming out fast from LmndStand?
Well, they're going to have to go quickly if they are going to try to grab it down. Looking to get the spike planted. Justin, you will see a couple members hitting the corner as the spike does successfully go down. Now with a kill coming through, all of a sudden this is much more doable. Blast Pack won't find much. Rossi still with 10 HP, looking for a headshot. Here. He's going to be able to scout out where one player is positioned. Maybe enemy keep kill. Some good fire coming through, but Stealthy's still feeling the hot hand. He'll double up with the ghost coming out of the corner, and Moon Raccoons will draw first blood on the scoreboard.
Those are massive kills coming out for them, and so now LmndStand losing that pistol once again. Moon Raccoons, see how heavily they want to invest into this. We do have the SMGs coming out, and so Rebo is going to also go for that SMG. And so it doesn't look like we're going to have an early operator coming out from either side quite yet. LmndStand, it's about weathering the storm. We'll see if they can actually get any trades. They do have all shorties in hand. They're playing close range. As you can see, Brock already postured aggressively over by doors.
Aftermath will take a little bit of unnecessary damage as he tries to take the shrouded step forward right into what the hot hands was placed from Frosty. Brock still holding this corner. Like you mentioned, 5 shorties in hand for LmndStand's defense. And for Moon Raccoons, they're doing what they can to try to scout players out, but so far they have been completely lost on where everyone's positioned. Aftermath's going to try to sneak on through. That'll be good for a first kill. It's going to see one more coming out of the C site. There's number 2. Looking to make his way over to Brock's position. Will be able to find number 3 as Frosty takes care of Rossi, and now it's just down to 1. That'll be Cavern, left in a 1v5, an impossible situation, and a flawless round comes through for Moon Raccoons on their second attack.
Now here, though, this is where you do actually kind of worry. Even though they got that flawless, right? That means 5 of them are still going to be stuck on the SMGs. How many of them really want to invest into that? They might just chalk it up as a loss or just try their best to scrap into this round, as they're going to be full up against Phantoms, and along with the lone Vandal there on the side for LmndStand. Root is the one with that. Where does he play with it? It's going to be playing over at C, which makes sense. You got the long sight line, so to work with that. This is the trolling part, though. Not having like a Sage in terms of composition to hold control over by Garage or over by the B site. So it's playing out kind of awkwardly. Seeing Sageless here is so weird for me.
That's a really unfortunate first blood to give away for LmndStand. You're trying to linger and maybe over peek through the middle of the map, gets caught. Now the Spectre can be upgraded to a Phantom. Or pardon me, that's actually a Vandal that's in hand. So Justin in a very important position. Only has the paint shells to work with. Aftermath going up top will deal with one. Rossi from the outside of the A link will actually deal with a double. So the numbers will stay even. Spike making its way in, but you see Root on the long flank. He'll be able to capture. No, he will not. A little bit windy on the shots. The Spike planner will get away. Stealthy fortunate, I would say, to keep their life, but Root doubles back. He'll find one and a second in B window, leaving Stealthy with a 1v3 situation.
Root, like I said, on the defensive side, this is where I'm expecting him to really open up. We saw signs of that when we were on Ascent, but ultimately Moon Raccoons, again, the pace that they were playing the offense at left LmndStand fairly uncomfortable, but right now I think they've got a decent read. I can't expect Aftermath to be able to continue to have the control that he's had. Of course, starting that all off, finding that first blood onto one of the members of LmndStand afforded him that option. Rossi was one of the clutcher members at the beginning there to really equalize things out and slow it down for LmndStand. Now here, we'll see how they deal with it, as it looks like they're sending the Rays now on over to Garage. Tried to go for an aggressive peek, didn't find anything off of it.
Stealthy also looking for something over towards Long C. Nothing there either. So for Moon Raccoons, still having a little bit of trouble finding at least early information, but they've done well in the middle of the round trying to flex around and audible based on what they see. Sky Smokes will continue to be channeled over towards C Long, stopping any immediate push, but that's not going to stop Aftermath. He's fine living in these smokes. Paranoia going to be queued up. And you've got the defensive route hiding in a corner on top of the platform by C. A lot of information gained off that intel, and won't be enough to hold on to as many kills as he needed to. Frosty for the run it back, trying to clear off what's coming potentially through the defensive side at spawn. Will not catch much. He will get the information that Rossi was somewhere in the C window, but that might not be nearly as much as LmndStand will need for the retake.
It's a 3v4 post plant. They're just cornered in here. 2 coming in from defender spawn, as we do have that smoke coming out, but Cavern catches him on that. Stealthy will go down. The man at Cubby as well. Skelly doesn't have an opportunity to answer back, and it looks like they might have just done it here, but Rebo keeping this alive.
Frosty's collecting around. Cavern almost able to grab the 4th, but no clutch up here as Frosty will just barely survive. 22 HP. But Moon Raccoons will win the very pivotal gun round early on in this first half and put themselves up 3-1.
And the important part is, of course, resetting that economy for LmndStand. So it looks like a half buy coming out for them. Rossi just go straight for that Phantom. He's got the light armor to work with. Is he going to play aggressively with that to catch them off guard? Here, what Moon Raccoons have to believe is going to be an anti-eco round.
Stealthy gets an angle, but is actually the one that receives most of the damage, not just the shock dart, but Cavern's pre-fire through the wall also connected, bringing him down to a very low 26 HP, and again, no Sage. So you're going to be sticking with that minimal amount of health for the rest of the round for Stealthy. It's going to make peeking with the operator extremely difficult unless the angle's cleared for him initially, and you kind of see, based on the position that Rebo's at the long side of A, looks like Moon Raccoons want to flirt with one of their first big attempts towards the A site.
Yeah, they were able to split up the defense once again. Triple sight here on Haven makes it very difficult to get a decent read on how the opponent's playing, as we do have that Hunter's Fury coming out for a Cavern to try and slow them down.
Doesn't look like he's connected with too much. Rebo was tagged by the spy cam dart, but is still 100 the HP. Dealing with trap fire, spy cams as well. Up top, spam through the smoke as good as Frosty finds one. Rossi now an important role for him to play as an incendiary comes over the top. It'll help clear off the right side, but not enough for him to get a free kill. But that said, Brock's able to get the judge in play for 2, and now the full force of LmndStand's retake is here. Last player left alive is Stealthy. He's found one of what needs to be 3 for this 1v3 clutch up. The problem here is the judge will be mostly kept incognito as Brock was able to get on top of the boxes, and he will walk away with the 3 kills. LmndStand able to bounce back, now just down 1 round, 2-3.
And we're seeing why teams still want to run the Sage often here on this map, on most maps. Again, when you go for those early peaks, the cheeky ones, you saw how Stealthy was trying to go for that off-tempo play. He stuck out that shock dart, but ended up missing that shot, and in the end got wallbanged down to 26 afterwards. And if you had that Sage, you could have played it a little bit more aggressively with that operator. Yep. You see him starting to play a bit more passively now. And here we go. The money situation not that great for Moon Raccoons as LmndStand can really punish them here.
Oh, and Aftermath takes a very intense amount of damage from the paint shells. I was about to say, you've got a lot of ultimates to play with it for Moon Raccoons, but nice bank shot there for Cavern. Not sure if they got the full read on Aftermath pushing aggressively through the sea grass, but they still commit a lot to it. Right click coming out for Stealthy off the Bladestorm will not secure the kill. Cavern, he will find the instant kill, but the aggression still stands for Moon Raccoons as they desperately try to work their way into the B site. It's not going to come to fruition, though, as the defenders collapse. LmndStand able to tie things up 3-piece.
Yeah, equal round though, not much committed into it. I believe it was just full shorties for Moon Raccoons. So what, they invest maybe 1.6K in terms of utility along with the shorties to do some economic damage to LmndStand being able to take down 2. And so if they are able to win a round or 2 in a row here, you know, they can really swing things in their favor. As you can see, the economy is struggling just a little bit. Rossi's going to be on the Bulldog as he wants to save up a little bit more, give them a little bit more longevity going into the next few rounds.
Keep an eye on Frosty here as well. He's earned to run it back. Opening shot. Nice little change at the angle for Stealthy as he works his way up and nearly would have gotten the second, but Frosty puts him down. Into the shadows up top towards Heaven. That's a very good position for Aftermath to be. He could foil the entire retake attempt, but I say that, and Cavern's able to convert off 1 kill. Still holding on to a recon dart. It's a 3v4 situation, but you can see the health pool's not exactly great. And LmndStand, they'll bail off, try to save, and hold on to his weapons to fight another day.
Yeah, it's that instant call for that save, and Moon Raccoons also doing a good job of just checking their flanks here. Again, it's about having proper respect. Even though you have to play your own game, you have to maintain that initiative. You still have to respect the team on the other side. When the duels have been going 50-50, even on the last map on Ascent, it was going back and forth. It looks like we're going to be set for a 3-map set again if Moon Raccoons can't secure this map.
Looks like there will be no immediate point of contact, so going up. LmndStand, you figure, with the 3 weapons held, they'll at least be able to bring in the power of the operator. The rest of the economy will be a little bit more questionable. And Moon Raccoons, they were maybe considering the idea of trying to chase them down, but not going to find anything here. So going into our next round, another big one here coming through is you're going into round number 8. Moon Raccoons enjoying a marginal lead at 4-3. Both teams, though, not exactly as healthy as they'd like to be at this stage of the half, though, when it comes to their credit standpoint. So, yes, LmndStand could full purchase into what will be a gun round for them, but it just comes down to what happens after this. Can they find a way to win this round and put themselves in the advantage, at least financially? Time will tell, as Moon Raccoons are still holding on to a number of great ultimates to potentially open up a site.
Yeah, with the rounds just going back and forth and the loss round bonus getting reset either side, the economy situations have been very difficult to read. If they lose this round, though, LmndStand will be struggling. They can go for a half buy, I believe, but Aftermath tries to get aggressive, and Cavern is able to hold the line until Stealthy finds that operator shot once again. Might have wallbanged them there, bringing down to 15 HP as they continue this push.
Very aggressive as the Molotov will be used to clear off the backside of the B site. And well, Frosty will see his run it back expire. Root, long range towards the C cubby. Not going to find anything here. The spike looks like it will commit to making its way to the C site. The big problem here is what can Root find? He's only able to take down 1. So now Brock left with the consideration of how do you approach this 1v3. He's already worked his way into sight, and well, I was about to say he should have information that a player is sitting C long, but I don't think he anticipated the operator for that long peek, and with that, Moon Raccoons able to convert the very aggressive offensive round.
Now, I wonder if this is where LmndStand kind of have to change up how they're playing their defense. We remember, again, Beta, I'm going to go back to it, when Cypher was being played very frequently on this map. He was that solo anchor over by the C site. We haven't seen that in quite some time, as a lot of players have kind of opted for having the Cypher on the A site, along with someone who has some sort of smoke or other utility help him out, typically a Brimstone. And that's what they've been doing over here, having, of course, the Jet on the A site for them. I think this might be the time where they change it up. Maybe go ahead and send that Cypher back on over to the C site, have a different kind of control, different kind of setup.
Frosty has been very wary of this C double doors push through. Almost every single round, the Hot Hands has gone that direction. Root is holding a tight angle just inside with the Sheriff. And the challenge might just come through, but not able to get the headshot lined up in time. So Aftermath First Blood, Moon Raccoons threatening not just the garage, but also the C site, which will force Justin over. Has a showstopper if he wants it, but I feel like that's not really something you're going to expect to see. Neural Depth will come through. Information and the advantage for Moon Raccoons as they do approach this C site for a plant.
Yeah, Aftermath got a nice angle also set up here to try and spam through the smoke. Did some decent damage. Already they're down low. LmndStand. Oh, one more going down. We'll see if they can pick up any exits here, as it looks like it might just be a flawless round for Moon Raccoons.
Yeah. Nothing to pick up for LmndStand, but no reason to hold on to what you have. So will they try to force a couple of repurchases next round through? The big problem here is the fact that Cavern's at 13 HP, and if Stealthy finds another pick with his sniper rifle, it looks like they are just going to try to play for maybe some hopeful exits. Not going to happen. Everyone backs away through C long, and it looks like from here, LmndStand will try to maybe hold on to their lives. Well, maybe not. Stealthy's going to try to lock this down one more time, and they'll exit in opposite directions. Does Frosty see it? He does. The shots will not connect for the kill, but the second peek from Rebo will be good enough. So 6-3, not the full flawless round, but we'll put an asterisk on it because it pretty much was all the way through for Moon Raccoons.
Let's take a look. Rebo was able to maintain full health. He doesn't have to rebuy armor. So that's a wildly successful round for them, as we're coming down to the final 3 in this half. And Moon Raccoons, their offense, there's been very little answer coming up from LmndStand. You were talking about, of course, the hot hands coming up from Frosty. maintained control over by garage doors. We haven't seen an aggressive push coming out from LmndStand over mid, over by B, over by garage doors in 5, maybe 6 rounds now.
Yeah.
And that's the fear that, honestly, Frosty and Aftermath have been affording them. Ooh, Stealthy is going to go for the repeat, and Brock finds him.
It's a lot of resiliency for Brock to just hold his ground, holding the exact same angle. And he's able to hold on to the tailwind beyond that. But Aftermath, we know, he is no stranger to try to make solo pushes happen. Brock is ready for it. Saw the barrel for a moment, and as there is a tag up, Cavern will find the pick, but Skelly has retrieved the operator, and as Rebo finds a pick that's actually over towards the B site. Now all of a sudden, LmndStand is a little bit boxed in. They've got 2 players just leaning towards the C site, but you've also got Rossi, who is essentially individually responsible for not just checking his camera at A, but he's the only body in the B site as well defensively.
Yeah. As it looks like it's going to be a full regroup over the A site. Again, it's the triple site map right here on Haven, and so they do have to play that line defense, 1 on A, 1 on B, 1 on C. The quickest rotation, of course, is going to come out from that Brimstone. He is in position to get some smokes off, especially for this short push, and the camera there from Rossi will allow him to set that up quickly.
Big information gather. Cyber cages come through, sound triggers there as well, but good prediction as Rebo finds one, and you wanted the early rotation for the Brim, but that gets shut down immediately by the operator. Spike planted. Now for Brock, 1v multiple situation, and on the outside looking in, this feels like it should probably be another save round, but he's flirting with the idea, maybe trying to find a couple of picks and maybe give this a go, but just as soon as he maybe considered it a little bit too longly, Skelly will find his 3rd kill in the round as he found all 3 by way of the operator, initially dropped by what was Stealthy at the beginning of the round.
Now LmndStand, typically here on Haven, you know, we know that the defensive side is afforded a lot of agency, right? There are a lot of aggressive pushes you can make through garage doors, through B main, and then, of course, A short, but we've seen none of that coming out from them. It's been a very defensive play. They've been playing back sites a lot. And again, now we're finally seeing some aggression coming out from them. Is it going to be enough? No! Stealthy again with this operator.
This is not a peak that you can get away with very often, but Stealthy hitting as hard as he is changing up the looks for Moon Raccoons on their attacking approach. And you wanted to see some maybe aggressive change-ups from the defensive side of LmndStand. You got him this time, Jamerson, but they come up completely empty. Hunter's Fury this time now coming out for Cavern as he will actually find 1 kill. Rude able to find 1 simultaneously, essentially, which will turn the numbers now into favor of LmndStand in the 4v3.
Yeah, the ultimate's really helping out in that regard. And actually, that was one point that I did want to talk about. Kind of got lost in this matchup, but we do have the Blade Sword coming out as Frosty pushes through Garage.
And it will be Brock on the site. Gets a couple of tags off by way of the Phantom. And, well, Brock has done well to get 2. Turns things around. LmndStand trying to find a way to capture off Skelly before he can get the spike planted, but he's able to immediately punish 1v1. Rossi still holding on to 125 HP. The luxury not shared by Skelly as the spike will be planted, but just as it does, Rossi able to find the free pick.
Whew. So they finally pick up a round here after what felt like an eternity if you were on the defensive side and getting that defuse. But Moon Raccoons, honestly, for an offensive side, this is already a great start. 7 rounds on the board. What more could you really ask for as we enter to the final round? If we can get the 8th one, that'll be massive. LmndStand will have very little to work with. We'll have very little wiggle room for mistakes. As now, for this final round, I thought that they had the showstopper ready, but they do not. Was it used in the last round?
I think he pulled it out, but didn't find anything with it. I think it was one of those, like, you pull it out and then immediately died afterwards, because I didn't see it come through. But, yeah, I had to have been, because I was right there with you. I was expecting to see it this round as well. I must have missed that. But at least you've got the Blade Storm and an Orbital Strike to play with for LmndStand. Moon Raccoons, how are you going to use your Orbital Strike? We've seen them use it more blindly than anything else, just try to clear out at least one part of a spike site, and it looks like that will initially be the offer towards A for now. You've got Aftermath, who's still being cautious of what could come through the middle of the map, but he will quickly rotate over. You also see the trap wires placed behind to watch the flank. So for all intents and purposes, this is looking like an early committal for Moon Raccoons to A.
Yeah, this A set piece has worked out quite well for them in the past, and so we'll see if they can do it again. This off angle by Brock, though, can be massive for them. If they check it, there it is, the flash coming in. But as they go on up, they don't, and so he picks up 2 now. LmndStand looking to get the 4th round on the board in this half.
Orbital strike used right over the top of the default plant spots as Rebo was able to take down Brock. This attempt not done yet, although Rebo will definitely be scouted out by where this owl drone is. The big problem here is stealthy with an operator. Is that the best tool for the job? We'll quickly find out here as Cavern is going to get a lot of information off the recon bolt. He'll find one, takes the second shot, not quite there, but Root able to follow up very nicely. The retake good. LmndStand able to salvage the first half with a 5-7 exit.
And 5-7, you're definitely happy with that, especially with how this started all off. And Moon Raccoons definitely dominated here, but LmndStand were able to persevere. But now I really want to see how Aftermath plays this Omen here on the defensive end. How LmndStand could try and wrestle map control back away again. It was Moon Raccoons who had basically initiative all over the entirety of the map, the mid being completely capitulated by LmndStand. We'll see if Moon Raccoons still play with that same kind of audacity, same kind of aggression. Right now, though, LmndStand, it looks like they might be setting up for a set piece onto the A if solo Cypher to hold it down for Moon Raccoons.
And Rebo is... Can't tell if he's in long. He's outside long. I wasn't sure if he was going to try to go for an early peek, but he definitely sees the cyber cage. That'll be enough to free LmndStand to work their way over to short. One little jiggle shoulder peek plus a couple of spam shots. That'll be enough for LmndStand to say, okay, we know that there's at least one on the site. Let's try to press our luck. Brock trying to clear out space right out front, but it's Justin and Root who win the day and win the spike site with it. Spike will be planted. 5-on-3 situation in favor of LmndStand, who Justin has actually snuck his way up top. He'll find one more kill, and with that, this feels like for Frosty a pretty impossible situation. He will find one kill, and not a second as Cavern is able to get the angle on him.
And I wonder how much of that was just a good read by LmndStand, or how much of that was just a default pistol round play, of course, for them as we saw off the sides. But Moon Raccoons, we're already seeing how much presence they want to have at mid. They had 2 people peeking out from garage doors and one also from B main. Right now, that same stack coming out from them as Moon Raccoons are actually going for a 5-man stack over by B. And this is something that we didn't see coming out from LmndStand. There was almost no window control whatsoever. The few times they did challenge for window, they got absolutely demolished.
And I'm kind of wondering if this is just horses out the gates here for Moon Raccoons. Are they just going to full push through this? Dark cover will be placed both at the window and on the immediate corner. All 5 members working their way up. Brock is very cautious about this potential play. They're all stacking here. Oh my goodness. Talk about cheeky strategies. Brock is very cautious, but again, he's not going to expect all 5 to be here, I'm sure. And as he sees them, he tries to shoot the fish in the barrel. Root will find 2, but a couple of good trades coming out. Rossi will find 1 in response, keeping numbers in favor of LmndStand. And the last 2 for Moon Raccoons are completely hit up, down to less than 16 HP for the both of them. And it just comes down to, can you force a couple more kills as the spike is racing to get to A. You're going to have Frosty here. And as Stealthy comes from behind, he'll find another pick. This isn't impossible.
There we go. They finally pick him off, but that is some damage done. Losing out to 3, and I believe this was the same play that we actually saw Moon Raccoons do on their eco round when they were on the defensive side. They ran that conga line through mid. I was wondering why it looks so familiar. It was a little bit of deja vu for me from last night.
Frosty, no way to self-sustain, 1 curveball to play with. He's going to make his way onto the site. Cavern is here in a position to where he can check, and Frosty's going to try to stick this, and, well, you got to at least appreciate and admire the effort, but it won't come through as LmndStand will take the anticipated second round, even though it was in a little bit more chaotic fashion than I'm sure they were anticipating.
As we come into the rifle round, though, it should play out fairly standard. But never mind, it's anything but, as they've already changed things up here. They're going to be sending their Cypher player on over to mid, and it looks like it is going to be Jet along with the Phoenix to play on the A site. Okay, so they're going to give up some control over at A, but I mean, these are 2 characters that can be very aggressive over here on the A site.
And well, the Jet of Stealthy has taken the initial angle. Aftermath actually finds what looks to be some spam through smoke off screen. Stealthy once again Left click into the tailwind. Able to get the second kill of the round. Good curveball coming out, although maybe a touch too aggressive on the peak for Stealthy. Hot hands will be placed at his feet. Brock able to convert onto the second kill. Now all of a sudden, the A side has completely been opened up, and I don't know. I think Stealthy maybe over peaks just a touch. It's got to be a retake for Moon Raccoons in this 3v3.
And we see why Cypher is that typical anchor over on the A side to try and slow down these pushes. As you saw, there was almost nothing they could really do besides from the hot hands. You know, they were still able to just push right on through it. And that defense just kind of melted like butter now, as Aftermath is going to try and get aggressive here. He does go for that boost, but Rossi takes one before he gets traded away.
Just comes down to scouting out where the last two players are. You hear the pings trying to put where the spike is down. You know it's an operator player. Aftermath finds the pick. Is he holding? No, Root will find the kill, but the immediate trade comes through. A dicey round, and I would say fortunate for Moon Raccoons to find a way to salvage that one after what looked to be way too easy of a take, considering the first two picks were in their favor from the A site.
Yeah, the save on the operator, though, to keep Stealthy healthy there. Their economy just a little bit low, as you can see. Revo having to pick up the SMG. We got a Guardian in play and the Judge for Aftermath. And so, despite taking that round win, their economy is struggling here. On the other side, the LmndStand, despite having the plants, going to be forced on this pistol buy. We got some Sheriffs in hand along with a Shorty. See how aggressive, how fast they can play with this to try and find these kills, these trades.
Stealthy, once again, aggressive. Is he going to go for maybe a predictive shot through this cyber cage? No, he's going to keep his position concealed. And how about this? Frosty has snuck his way right behind LmndStand. The problem is there's nobody on the A site, no camera, no trap wire, nothing that could potentially scout this out besides Stealthy himself. And he's just got the operator. So for an eco round, if LmndStand can find the pick, it could be good. Cavern doesn't expect that Frosty's holding the angle. Stealthy finds one and a second. And you thought for maybe a second LmndStand had an opportunity to take advantage of the Swiss cheese defense, essentially, that Moon Raccoons put up at A. But they don't have the spike, so no chance to get even the extra economy through it. It's going to have to be based off of kills, and it's not going to happen here. Just down to one. It's Brock. He's found himself an operator to play with, but that'll only be good for one consolation kill, and Moon Raccoons able to find themselves another defensive round.
And they stabilize now on their economy, and they're able to hold on to that operator, and so they'll be able to continue to stretch this at this point. LmndStand are going to struggle just a bit. They don't have an answer quite yet for Stealthy with that operator, who's continued to find value. This is about 2-3 rounds now where he's been playing over by long A. He's found at least a pick every single round with it. LmndStand, we'll see if they possibly try to commit some of their ultimates into this round, as they do have some two big ones, right? They've got the orbital strike along with the showstopper here, very offensive ones. And this could be the answer for it.
Stealthy changes the angle, caught the better part of a shock dart, but still walks away with first blood. Goodness gracious, he's got to be such a headache for LmndStand. He's just been changing up the angle almost every single round. Yeah, he's been defaulting towards long A, but now he's in a position to get the collapse. One more on top, nearly able to convert, but will not find the kill. So the B site has been opened up, but the spike is actually not offering to come on through. Brock is just free roaming in the back line of the Moon Raccoons. That'll even up the numbers 2v2.
Yeah, that was one of those situations. Is like, team, I killed 3. What happened? Right now, though, left in this 2v2, as the spike is going to rotate its way on over. LmndStand already have some presence on C, and they know that do Moon Raccoons, and they're trying to make their way on in. Roots is able to take out Skelly. Now it's a 1v2.
Rebo's on the site, though. Gets the information. The plant is in default. Orbital strike comes out, but Brock is able to get the favorable angle and the timing onto Rebo. Not sure about the orbital strike. Feel like it was a little bit blind, but hey, you get the round win, so you can't over-criticize too much, I suppose.
Yeah, these are crucial ones, especially how it's going back and forth, and you're able to punish the economy now of Moon Raccoons, who were just starting to stabilize. 1,900 on Frosty, and for one of your top frags, one of your top contributors to not have gun in this round, it's going to be very detrimental for Moon Raccoons. So he does have the Sheriff at the very least, and take a look at how they've changed up the spread for their defense. And so we're going to see that typical Cypher over on the A side. B, it's going to be the Jet player, and it's a triple stack over by C and Garage.
Heavy commitment of resources at the C garage doors. Shock dart, dart cover, boombot, all being used. So for LmndStand, you figure that the attempt here is to take away control of the garage from Moon Raccoons, but Frosty's able to just put a hot hands down and say, nope, no thank you. This will stay ours. And LmndStand have to consider what they want to do here. They should know that Frosty's only holding on to a pistol, but This is still a dangerous angle. Incendiary comes out. Frosty in a corner. He will find one. Not able to get the second. Spamming through the smoke. Won't find anything. But Aftermath up top will find a kill. Recon Bolt will find the information. But the damage is great as Aftermath finds the second. Rossi will eventually secure the site. But gets shut down just as he wanted to go for a neural theft. So for Moon Raccoons, this has done well for you, considering the amount of investment that LmndStand have pulled. Stealthy will put things down as the Bladestorm will finish things off onto Brock for the kill.
The craziest part was that Aftermath actually got spotted out by that recon bolt. He was on the map. He was on their screens. He shouldn't have gotten that first kill, and things are just really starting to fall apart for LmndStand. I feel like they're losing a little bit of their composure at this point, and around what should have been theirs, even though it was a slight buy coming out from Moon Raccoons. Right? You had the judge, you had the sheriffs and such. You don't let small mistakes like that really compound into a round loss. And so now they're the ones that are behind it. They're the ones whose economies are struggling. And Moon Raccoons can just walk away with this one.
Stealthy now again mid-map with the operator. LmndStand in a little bit of trouble financially. Will be just on pistol upgrades for the most part, as it looks like they're going to try to full flood execute to the A site based on at least the initial pressure. Rebo gets some good intel. Camera dealt with, tracking dart removed. Cyber cage should expire here soon. He'll trigger the second one. Just holding down the trigger. He's found a lot of damage. No kills to speak of yet, but he's done most of his job. And Stealthy is so freaking slippery with this operator. He finds another pick through the A-link. Brock will find an immediate trigger. It's actually a valuable one, as Aftermath will actually commit to the end of the shadows to get behind. So now all of a sudden you can try to take this site a little bit more cleanly. Aftermath for another. Gets damage on a player A short. Spike's going to be held. Brute will find the kill. Hunter's Fury is going to be forced to come out, try to hold on, make sure the defuse doesn't come through, but hasn't gotten halfway. No kills off the Hunter's Fury, and the numbers looking good for Moon Raccoons to secure this one away. Cavern going to give it a go, but nothing there. And it was a costly defensive round, I'll say that much.
It definitely was, but this is one of those situations where now Moon Raccoons, they should be able to recover the big guns, right? They've got the operator, I believe, back. And so their economy shouldn't be hurting that much. And they'll be able to buy right back into this. It's going to be LmndStand's buy that I was more worrying about, but they're going to be safe here. And so now LmndStand, I believe if they lose this one, it's not completely over, right? If they lose this and it's set to match point, they do have the max lost round bonus to work with. They'll have a decent final buy to deal with. But again, you don't want to get to that point. You don't want to get to that 12th round for Moon Raccoons. Stealthy, though, has some things in mind. He's going to get aggressive over here by doors.
Does find the pick. I mean, the shock dart's just not going to do enough. It won't get a full kill off of just one of them, and there's no spam to follow throughout it. So the boom bot, the shock dart all comes through for LmndStand, but they still find themselves down in numbers. Moon Raccoons looking for that pivotal 12th round. Again, a best of 3 here. Winner goes on to play Pretty Boyz, our champions from last week. Justin, awkward. Still able to pull out the showstopper, takes away a little bit of his HP from the orbital strike, and Stealthy and Aftermath will make sure that the B side stays locked down. Frosty seeing Garage, able to find one more. Everything comes down to Brock, and he will only find one. Stealthy, again, showing up with another multi-kill in the kill feed.
Now Moon Raccoons sitting on match points on Lemonades, and I said their economy would be okay to be able to force up. So it's going to be a judge for Brock, which is okay. It's on the jet. But what does Cavern have left for himself? He should be able to get at least a light armor and a Phantom of sorts, but it's more about the utility. How much did he really expend in the last round? Will he be able to bring into this? But LmndStand, they've had no answer here on their offense. Moon Raccoons have had a stellar defense so far. One of the more successful plays for them has been over on the B site. Nice cheeky P from Brock, though.
I mean, we've seen Stealthy hit angles like that from when we saw him on a set, but this time it's Brock who gets the better of him. So the Bladestorm, potentially a big X factor into what this round could look like. 5v4 situation. You still have to keep in mind that LmndStand are dealing with a much weaker arsenal than their counterparts in Moon Raccoons. And even if they find that first pick, it's going to be a full flip back over to C long, of which it's Aftermath who's here to deal with this. Dark Cover will be coming off of his cooldown here in a moment, and he's just jumping and looking for any information possible.
Yeah, they're regrouping here, actually, falling completely back off the A site. Maintain control once again over by mid. So he gets spotted out going for that peak.
Brock tries for the immediate trade, not going to be given it. Only 3 knives to play with. Sky Smoke's coming down, Cyber Cage there. Skelly able to see one, gonna bounce past the incendiary off. He heard the sound shells, another player is close by, but Justin will at least find one pick. The question is, will it be enough? The Neuro Depth comes through. This is going to be a pretty easy read on as far as LmndStand making the full wrap back over to A. It's going to be Frosty, the first one here. Hot hands up and over. Will be placed just a little bit shorter than where I think he wanted it. But he is at least able to get up at the top heaven with the operator while he's waiting for his teammates to join him.
Yeah, they've got all the time in the world to work with. About 40 seconds left here in the post-plant situation. 3v2. Cavern gets some information, but Moon Raccoons, they've got some stellar players to really try and deal with this, but Roots! You might have just saved this map so far, as they're even going to commit the orbital strike. They're not leaving anything up to chance. This is how close that they've been playing. That Moon Raccoons, they understand that, that LmndStand understand they have to throw everything at the wall to just hope anything sticks. But Moon Raccoons, they still have 3 rounds to try and close this one out.
And yeah, I was about to say, because you still have to get another 3 rounds just to force the overtime, it might seem, at least initially, that was an overcommitment, but you figure if you get to that 11 to 12 point, hopefully Root has done enough to get his another orbital strike back to have it for the round that really, truly matters. So how about Stealthy? What do you have for us this time around? Aggressive peek. Will see one, misses the shot. Jump peek that comes through, and you can see Frosty's like, I don't know about this angle.
Well, he got that one. I like how both teams have been playing, though. You know, they've been very heavy on the challenge through those smokes, pushing through kind of audaciously here as Rebo has to back away down to 10 HP. Moon Raccoons, they've got the man advantage.
Oh, Stealthy, how do you play this retake? You can feel like he wants to just dart on in. He's going to go to the operator first. Very mildly paying attention to what's going on at the goal. He sees one plunk up to the other, and he gets the wall bang. Predictive shot comes through. Stealthy sees one player on the site, not going to find the kill, but the trade is immediately there, and Moon Raccoons will clean things up, take the map 13-9, and go on to meet our previous week champions of Pretty Boyz after a 2-0 versus LmndStand.
Yeah, and I was not expecting this to go as one-sided. The scoreline doesn't really reflect how one-sided this particular map was. 13-9 for Moon Raccoons. You saw LmndStand. It was honestly, a lot of their round wins were more off of clutches than anything else, as Moon Raccoons, they dominated there on the defense. There was very little they can do up against Stealthy's operator. He's 25-15. He did die a lot for his effort, but, you know, that's kind of what his aggressive nature really afforded them to do. And so at least he was trading more often than not. I think more what I want to talk about, it's the elephant in the room. Justin Nova there in the bottom frag, 5-19-4 on the Rays, which felt very awkward here, particularly on Haven, as I believe there was only 3 showstoppers in 22 rounds. Yeah, and that's not something you're used to seeing out of a Rays player.
No, definitely not. And that's the other thing about it. You know, when we were setting up this matchup as a whole, Justin is pretty much, I won't say a one trick, but he hard picks over to the Rays. He did it during the FaZe Clyde Invitational just this last weekend, and it was successful for them. That was one of the biggest things that kept them in the running versus teams like Sentinels and Gen G, and why they were able to get past teams like Built by Gamers. But it came up pretty empty this time around. So for LmndStand, they fall. But the bigger story here, Moon Raccoons with a chance to supplant our previous week winners, Pretty Boyz, who have been waiting very avidly in the wings for this matchup. It'll be a good one. Any kind of early kind of thoughts to kind of throw out in the world before we send things to a small break, Jamerson, as far as what to expect in this upcoming matchup?
Well, the first thing is always, of course, the eye test means nothing, right? if we went off of what we saw yesterday, we would have expected, of course, completely LmndStand to just walked away with this matchup. But that was a 2-0 and a pretty deserved win for Moon Raccoons. And so that's why it's so very hard to try and engage the strength of teams when you have 2 separate best-of-3s without a very exhaustive format. And so for whatever doubt that I might have had for Moon Raccoons, I apologize. You guys did a stellar job there, but now they're going up against Pretty Boyz in the grand finals here, and so that's where they're really going to be tested.
Big hurdle to be sure, but an important one if you want to rise in the ranks as far as up-and-coming North American Valorant teams. We'll send things to a break. When we come back, it'll be our final matchup. Pretty Boyz going up against Moon Raccoons right after this.
Up here by Goomba Squad. Molly gonna cut them off, coming up glass. 1 shot, 2 shot. Oh, get taken down. Wow. But the Flames do the 3rd.
Revealing area.
Two players here, and
Oh
no. No! Left side is going to hold three players in IT. The one that shows up. Pancakes puts down Retro, but the Spike is able to get on down. That's Trips, baby. Pancakes bringing it. Ooh. And the over. They're going to get the Spike down here, it looks like.
Yeah, they just get the spike plant. They get the ultimate charge. Nothing else really.
Yeah, that's it. Pancakes. Nice job. Pancakes 2. Meanwhile, Retro getting involved. An easy 3-piece. Break into. Chen and Wen have got good positioning here. Ooh. And Pancakes is a big part of it. On the side, gets one to the back and one to the front. But hey, man, I'm here for the low-tier guy, for the low-tier characters. Ooh. CFB though, just getting it done down mid. Looks like blue team grabs a kill. Red team's able to answer on back. 3 players alive. Make it 2 for the defense. Here comes the smoke from China Wen. And all of a sudden, D-Cop's gonna bust onto the scene, getting 2, just like that. There's some information. We're gonna look behind them, also up. That's a smoke. D-Cop goes right on through. Default spike position. Looks like blue team grabs a kill. Red team's able to answer on back. 3 players alive. Make it 2.
Already seeing the rotates coming out. Kev is ready for this. Takes the first shot. Hits it. Ooh!
1, 2, 3, baby. Kev money. 4 Vs, 3 Ks.
One of it is, of course, on the offense. Ooh, Shakes. Don't even have time to talk about it there as he picks up 3.
2 scattered across the map, and Shanks is actually going to pick up Incred, who's making the rotation from B. Melio Mariah.
Sight. Here's the first spray. Shakes with another one, but it's J-Mo pulled it down.
Ton of players here. Wow. Everyone's from spot up, making the rotation now. 2 are going to be on the other side. 1 goes down. Good shots from Shanks. Now on the site is underrated. Looking for the plant. While Spot Up has 1 left in the smoke. Down they go.
Retro trying to go for the peak. They were going for the timing. That was it. Nice jump down, but what a flip! The turnaround.
Still plenty of players trying to push through this smoke, and they will do that. 1 for the money and the 3rd. Don't even need the show. And, you know, it seems to come down. There's only 5 players on your Valorant squad, right? And all gun skill consumed equally.
Reason 8 to 10 now is the scoreline. Way too French really fought back for this one, and there we go. Default's actually paying off for them. He even holds for the 3rd.
These more these slower, more cautious, more trepidatious pushes don't really line underrated up for success. See this, Shanks flashes, walks in, double kill. Second flash, triple kill. Just like that. Picks 1 up as well, so it's 2 so far. Melio falls down. Ainge. Beautiful shots out of showers. 3 players up from underrated to defend against way too French's 3-man retake.
They are going to be approaching from the same angle, though. This is going to be a difficult one now. Nano with a huge paint shells there. Incredible even going to go ahead and molly off that angle as he goes for the peak. Taking out 1.
Strong molly, but the unnecessary peak for sure. The ace from Ainge, but he falls to the flames. Yeah, the Op's gonna chew you. Whether or not they got the armor. Op's gonna miss though. And so it's a 1 for 2. Whoa, J-Mo! 4, just like that. The 5th lurking in window, walking on through the smoke. Sees him, gets him, and that's number 5. Here by Goomba Squad. Molly gonna cut them off, coming up glass. 1 shot, 2 shot. Oh, get taken down. Wow. But the flames do the 3rd.
Revealing area.
2 players here. And no. Oh, no. Left side is gonna hold 3 players in IT. The one that shows up. Pancakes puts down Retro, but the Spike is able to get on down. That's Trips, baby. Pancakes bringing it.
Ooh.
And uh-oh. They're going to get the spike down here, looks like.
Whatever. Yeah, they just get the spike plant. They get the ultimate charge. Nothing else, really.
Yeah, that's it. Pancakes. Nice job. Pancakes, too. Meanwhile,
Wow.
Retro getting involved. An easy three-piece. Break into. Chen and Wen have got good positioning here.
Ooh.
And Pancakes is a big part of it. On the side, gets one to the back and one to the front. But, hey man, I'm here for the low-tier guy, for the low-tier.
Hello and welcome back as we're dealing with our Fight Night Arena day number 2, and what will be our final matchup here is our champions from last week in Pretty Boyz will be going up against the new challengers by way of Moon Raccoons. I'm IHOLDSHIFT. With me is Jamerson, and well, you have been mentioning since yesterday you weren't 100% sure what to expect from Moon Raccoons, maybe even expecting less. Well, they showed up to play today as they were able to take down LmndStand with a, I won't say necessarily comfortable 2-0, but at least a pretty convincing one.
And we were talking about this during the break, but honestly, a lot of it came down to the unorthodox play that's coming out from Aftermath, the way that he's been playing that Omen that kept LmndStand on their toes. He got so much space for them, just the threat of the play style, right? It left LmndStand guessing exactly how he was going to play, because at some rounds, you know, he was really swapping it up, playing very aggressively, pushing through mid with reckless abandon, and other times just playing full 5 as a squad and running around death squatting. And so it's very hard to make a read on that. We'll see if Pretty Boyz have an answer. We definitely understand that LmndStand didn't.
Yeah, 100% the case. And, you know, taking a look as far as how this all has formatted out so far up until this point. Again, Monday is day number 1. We saw LmndStand taking down Adaptation, where Moon Raccoons were able to deal with Mamba Mode Gaming. That was that matchup that you particularly mentioned was not necessarily as convincing as maybe you were expecting or hoping for. And then, as we just mentioned and just previously saw, LmndStand did fall to Moon Raccoons in our opening match tonight. So, Moon Raccoons versus Pretty Boyz. And in case you're wondering, maybe you're not as familiar with this Moon Raccoons roster, you are still dealing with 3 members that were at one point in time the core of what Demon Time was, a squad that I would say was a pretty controlling spot in the more amateur-centric side of the North American Valorant scene. Specifically of that roster, you're looking at Rebo, Stealthy, and Frosty, now being dealt with Skelly and Magic to join them. On the opposite side, though, it's the Pretty Boyz. Again, our defending champions is Thwyfo, Pure, you have Anderson, Josh, and Payan is now joining this squad. I know a lot of people probably familiar with Payan's name, as he was in that pro scene for quite some time, but is still searching to find himself a part of a mainstay roster.
And of course, typical of course, a lot of new releases for games. Everyone, when it's competitive, make that swap on over. And so we're seeing a lot of different backgrounds, right? We know, of course, looking at Sentinels and other squads, FaZe in particular, a lot of Overwatch carryovers, but we've also got the Fortnite carryovers and players like Psalm, Thwyfo. So it's great to see the kind of meshing of worlds here and the clashing of play styles, and we'll see how much they adapt. Even though a lot of these players definitely do have their own backgrounds in 1.6 and Source and Go.
Yeah, and for Payan is actually a guy that I'm familiar with for the Paladin scene. I think Random Noob is still teaching this squad or coaching this squad of Pretty Boyz, so I'm not sure if Payan is now just a fill-in for this squad, because he is most recently seen with what was Code 7, now built by gamers. But obviously kind of filling in, or maybe, you know, maybe some leaked intel, maybe he's no longer playing with Built by Gamers. He'll be joining at least the squad of Pretty Boyz for now. So interesting to kind of take a look to see what's going to be maybe occurring for this one. So expectations just through and through. I mean, you had a chance to watch obviously Pretty Boyz play last week. Were there anything in specific that you saw from the previous week that you were sitting here saying that, man, this Pretty Boyz squad, watch out for them to do X, Y, or Z?
Honestly, in particular, I think it was a bit more standard than anything else. And so it's more, again, how do you play that standard style, that default style that we're typical, we're used to seeing in kind of the tier 1 play up against what honestly feels like a very puggy style coming out from Moon Raccoons at this point. We understand that Moon Raccoons, with the winners interview that we had last night, that they're a newer team. You know, they've kind of formed around each other and only scrimmed, 2-3 days, they said, before being asked to play in our tournament for this week. And so it is going to feel like that for quite some time. They've got that room for growth, but, you know, honestly, after seeing what we have over the last 2 days, the skill ceiling for them, it seems pretty high. And so it's going to be that pug style versus that kind of typical default style, and we'll see which one wins out in the day.
And a bit of a correction here as we're hearing from production that it's actually not going to be Josh and Pan for the Pretty Boyz squad. It's Brando and Aaron, who were playing with Echo 8 in the most recent tournaments that we had a chance to see them. So definitely interesting as far as, bringing that into the mix. These are two players that I think a lot of people had their eyes on, especially when all the drama unfolded with things like, what happened with Week and Fox and all of that. Brando and Aaron, what were you going to do with Echo 8 to kind of make them a competitor again? So we're going to get our first look at these guys, at least here, as they'll be playing with the Pretty Boyz championship team. So yeah, it's interesting. We also, beyond that, Jamerson, have gotten word on what our map set will be for this best of 3. We're starting things off on Bind. This was the one map that we did not get a chance to see with Moon Raccoons and the side of LmndStand from their last best of 3. But anything in particular that you may have remembered seeing Moon Raccoons possibly play here in the past?
I'm pretty sure this is, of course, another map where Stealthy. Oh, does he play the Jet or does he play the Sova here? That's, I think, the big question for myself, because we do see him swapping off for that on Ascent. He typically plays that Sova. I feel like this is one of those maps where the Sova feels quite necessary. And so I think he is going to be swapping back on over to that, so he won't have the same mobility, but he will still typically be the opper for them.
Okay, well, it's definitely a player that has stolen my attention today, and I'm sure most people out there watching, whether he's held the sniper on the Sova or the Jet, doesn't seem to make much of a difference when it comes to his skill potential. So as we do our little walk through Bind, this is another map where I think, maybe we were questioning a bit with Justin playing the Rays on other maps. This is one where I think you would very much so expect to see the Rays come into play. A lot of value trying to hold down a lot of these choke points, especially on the defense. So we'll see if that comes to fruition here as well. Just as a quaint little foreshadowing, our second map will be Ascent. Our third will be Haven. So if you're wondering about what that best of 3 in total looks like, there is our journey that we could potentially be going on here. But I mean, for me, just as kind of as maybe one last little final wrap-up point as far as the head-to-heads, I'm just wondering if Stealthy is allowed to pop off like he just previously did versus Pretty Boyz squad. What do you do to counter? Because we've seen teams like Sentinels, they rise to the top because they essentially have these set strategies to shut down the potential of an operator to find value. But that comes with a lot of adaptation, a lot of rehearsal, a lot of practice, a lot of trial and error. That is not necessarily the case at this level of Valorant. Typically, we do see our operator players carrying a lot of the load when it comes down to the kill potential for these squads.
Yeah, I think you kind of really need to utilize a lot more of your smokes. I think if you're going to bring up Stealthy as a player on that operator to try and really shut it down, you need more smokes. You need to be able to find those angles that he's going to play with and try to use the paranoias, try to use any kind of blind really to get that initial pick onto him. But we didn't really see that in the last matchup. LmndStand didn't have answers. It was honestly a lot of just default smokes coming out for them. It looked like they weren't really adapting to what Stealthy was doing, and he just got away with murder, honestly, more than anything else. Here, up against Pretty Boyz, though, I feel like there might be an answer for him. Again, it's at that top level of play when the utility is going to be most important, where it's not just aim, right? You need the difference maker is going to be how do you use your smokes? How do you use your flashes to really get that advantage? And so we'll see if the team play comes out for him. At this point, also another question I actually do have for this, because again, we talked to Moon Raccoons last night. They said that they do not have a Sage main, and so they're not going to be playing Sage on this map. That kind of cuts out that default A play that we're used to seeing. And so does that mean that we're going to see more B-side pushes coming out from them? A lot of questions are being raised here as we do get into the game. It's going to be Pretty Boyz starting off on the defensive end and taking a look at the compositions early on. They're the ones that are going to be bringing in the Sage. So when they swap off onto the offensive end, they'll have that option for the default A play. Moon Raccoons definitely do not, though.
And beyond that, you're also seeing the Phoenix still being picked up by Frosty. No Rays in the composition for Moon Raccoons. The other big difference to kind of keep note of, although duelists are still even 1-for-1. So we'll see how things kind of unfold here. Pretty Boyz on the defense first, like you had mentioned. It'll be Thwifo on the Cypher, who's actually leaning towards initially playing over at A. It's a pretty heavy stack defensively for Pretty Boyz. A big gamble as far as what you're keeping over this direction, but at least you still have your Rays kind of helping out where needed over towards that B site. So we'll see how things kind of unfold if he doesn't need to throw anything through this teleporter. Here, opening peek, you will see a lot of information. paint shells over the top as he's been tagged. And how about this? It's Dwifo in a corner. He's able to collapse for 2. The paint shells will find the 3rd. Good start for Pretty Boyz defensively.
Yeah, and again, starting off on the defensive end, of course, having that raise in hand is so good. In this first pistol round, you hit 1 paint shell and does so much damage onto the clumped up forces of Moon Raccoon. So great start already for Pretty Boyz as Moon Raccoons are left licking their wounds now, just left as a 2 here, backing away. And now they're just kind of left wandering, trying to find a pick, hopefully. Stealthy, though, over here at mid at 56 HP does get spotted out.
Still going to hold on to the potential angle. Has a recon bolt to play with. It just comes down to being so mindful of so many different angles. We know that Dwifo was holding at least the close corner by the double box. Stealthy's going to be aware of that. There's also a player holding the L boxes, and I think a shoulder has been seen. So there's at least some sort of information gathered. Watch the long flank, though. Aaron is starting to make his way outside of B long, right behind the spice market, and based on his path, he will avoid the trap wire, but this round might just be over before he can even get there. Paint shells in the corner. Would have done the trick, but it's Brando who closes things out, and Pretty Boyz, they go flawless with the pistol.
And this is where we're seeing the weakness of Moon Raccoons, of course, not having that Sage main and completely refusing to play a Sage whatsoever. And can you fault them? If you don't have a Sage main and you only have about 4 or 5 days of scrims under your belts, it's not easy to really pick her up. And there are a lot of nuances to the play for the Sage if you're starting off on the offensive end here. Imagine if they had the Sage slows, the Sage wall to go for that default play onto A, could have helped them out immensely. But instead, they ended up running into all the utility of Pretty Boyz, weren't able to trade back. And you saw it was basically a flawless round for Pretty Boyz here in the first pistol.
I know the other side of things, we haven't mentioned this yet, but in terms of the Sage, I mean, it's no surprise that Riot is apparently still considering more nerfs for Sage. And so I know at the higher level, we're seeing a lot less Sage because teams are kind of anticipating that nerf to come through and just anticipating that, nope, she won't be useful. Brando, aggressive peek, will find 2 kills. Aaron able to follow up with a 3rd. That was actually backside of Hookah. Anderson with the paranoia, that'll find value as him and Aaron will combine for the final 2 kills. Won't be flawless, but it was still clean as Pretty Boyz take their second round as anticipated.
I mean, how further could they really try to nerf her at this point? I think one of the wall definitely got nerfed like almost oblivion. One of the earlier, I believe, buffs that she received actually was how people dealt with the slows. You used to be able to just bunny hop right through. I feel like that's the only approach that you can take to try and nerf her any further.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just know that's something that's kind of floating around that pro community, that they're expecting more nerfs to come through. I'm right there with you, where it would have to be a cooldown or a purchase thing beyond that, but I don't know. It's definitely one of those things that you feel like she's already in a spot where, as the only support character, there's only so much you could do, especially when it comes to the healing potential. So, I don't know, conversation best served for maybe another day, as Moon Raccoons will come through with their 3rd round now being able to purchase up. The spike will be left backside of the mid spice market, but it looks like with Aftermath once again getting aggressive, he will find first blood. Aaron forced to self-sustain off the healing orb, but then immediately tosses a slow orb at the base of the blaze wall. Frosty still feeling frisky to challenge the angle, will make his way in. But the defense have also found a way to get onto the site to contest this a little bit longer. Rebo able to deal with 1, that's Dwifo. Frosty holding the same corner, as everyone from Moon Raccoons have pretty much put themselves out of the site, but there will be an opportunity for them to set up a post plant towards B long.
Yeah, they've got a 3v4. They've got the crossfire set up as well. Right now, it's this flank coming out from the Cypher for Moon Raccoons that might be able to catch out the Omen player for Pretty Boyz.
I was about to say, Pierre had an idea of where Frosty was located. We'll be able to turn that ghost into a Spectre. And is going to try to stick this for at least halfway through. Skelly going to spam through it. Has to go to the reload, though, and the timing is good. Pure for 1, 18 HP, but he's looking at a Cypher that's also very low, and he's going to hear a lot of footsteps sound. Is there going to be enough time to get the full defuse through? It'll be close, and yes, just barely. Pretty Boyz able to salvage a very tight round, winning now 3 in a row.
Yeah, 2 seconds left on that defuse, and so Pretty Boyz will be able to get that 3rd round. Moon Raccoons, that was one of their best opportunities, going up against the SMGs of Pretty Boyz in that rifle round, as we're seeing an Odin coming out from Dwifo here, and we know that he's been playing over here on the A side, and so he's going to try to be a little bit aggressive with it. If he swaps position, no, he won't. He's going to go ahead and back off.
Interesting. Kind of wondering how exactly he sets this up for just a wall bang through. He's going to have the cam to give him information. So it looks to be a pretty premeditated set play for himself. But Moon Raccoons, once again, back to a pretty fragile economic state. We're going to actually offer themselves a take of the hookah, in which Frosty will clear out with a very awkward hot hands. I'm not sure exactly if that was where he wanted it to go or not, but at least clears his tight right. Will make his way on, and the spike is lingering this direction, but by no means is a committal for Moon Raccoons.
Nice paranoia onto the recon drone. You don't get to see that often. And so no information gleaned whatsoever for them. They know that the Omen's there at the very least, and that's really about it. But Moon Raccoons have already rotated on off, and now they're over here at short A. And so Thwifo, this might be his moment.
Very patiently waiting for this. Going to see the dark cover come through. What other information does he get? He just starts to spam, able to find one. That has got to be so annoying as he gets a lot of damage dealt onto Moore, but Aftermath will actually be able to upgrade the Frenzy right into the Odin. And you got Pure, who's the race player on the X-Ray, right on the outside of the L-box. He finds one before falling, but this has been a pretty punishing round for Pretty Boyz. 2 players down so far. Aftermath still holding on to the potential for more. Not a lot of time to play with, and I would say more importantly, you're looking at Pretty Boyz staring down the spike in the middle of the A site.
Yeah, unable to get that spike planted down. It's going to be very unfortunate for them. Aftermath, though, again, he's playing that very puggy style, very aggressive style with the Omen. Like I said, characterized kind of like a Jet, kind of like a Phoenix, the way he plays it. So really caught Thwifo off guard, and I honestly expected Thwifo to pick up maybe one more with that spam, but, you know, it was put to a short end.
It's cheeky to say the least, though. And he's going to be able to eventually set up for the same thing again as his teammates have salvaged the Odin from the previous round. And that looks to be the case as he gets this normal trap wire down. And I believe the camera will be in the near exact same position. Moon Raccoons will be able to bring a little bit more of a healthier arsenal to this next fight, though. Dark cover, early put through. Spike still left mid-map, but you see by the trap wires that Moon Raccoons have placed, this looks to be a hit towards A, and as Rebo finds first blood, that might just be the execute call coming through. Pure will find one. Anderson up top, he's able to deal with the second. Pure for a double in total, and Moon Raccoons, yeah, they wanted to commit to this, but I don't know if you really can anymore.
And I like that read that came out from Anderson there. You know, they got punished because they didn't have coverage over the car. Aftermath was able to just go ahead and use that Dark Shroud and go over and gain control over U-Haul. This time around, Anderson was in position to go for that peak while the set play was coming out from Moon Raccoons. But we're seeing now how you struggle without having a stage on the offense. Again, they're trying to make that short A push, but you don't have the slows, you don't have the wall to at least secure the spike plant. And they've been getting punished for that 2 rounds in a row now. As Pretty Boyz, they've got 5 under their belt in the defense of the Moon Raccoons. I don't know what they have for their offense here. Again, there's very little to answer for the utility that's coming out from Pretty Boyz.
Well, I mean, take a look at the bottom of your scoreboard. You've got Frosty and Stealthy still empty in the kill department, where those were the 2 that were top fragging in the previous matchup they played versus LemonadeStand. So you talk about how do you shut down Stealthy? Well, the answer has been there so far. Pierre, who had 4 kills last round, will find his 5th straight, this time by way of the operator he picked up and almost gets a full collat. It's Anderson who cleans up Aftermath, who was trying for an aggressive play off the shrouded step. And once again, Moon Raccoons coming up empty on their attacking approach. A little bit of an underhand toss for Pure, seeing if anyone was going to be into that cyber cage. Last player left alive is going to be Stealthy, who, well, is going to be in a really tough spot trying to find his first pickup as far as the kill is concerned here in the 6th round.
Yeah, and we're seeing again that punishing, that very aggressive style coming out from Aftermath. You saw that he was trying to go for that shroud step, but he ended up getting paranoid, and then of course just, I don't know, some weird dance moves on the floor there in front of them, just kind of trying to show his dominance, but no, it didn't work out. And it looks like Pretty Boyz have a really good read on how he's playing this one out, and it's been punished now 6 rounds in a row. Pretty Boyz, they've got a very solid defense here, and I think at this point, Moon Raccoons have to go for a B push. Pretty Boyz, there's very little, I feel like, in holes of their defense right now with what Moon Raccoons have. They've got the orbital strike, they've got the run it back, and typically when I see those 2 ultimates online, that's where you go for a B push. You know, you go for the orbital strike into the back of B site, you have that cleared out, run it back to go for that first entry. But now they're just setting it for default.
And beyond that, I'm right there with you as far as going for this B site. Hookah has been left open for the most part for Pretty Boyz every single round thus far. Brando getting a tag off of the Aldrome, looking for the Hunter's Fury. It looks like he'll tag once, not able to quite get the kill. 5 ultimates also to play with for Moon Raccoons in this attacking approach, which with the full weapons and stealthy with an operator, this feels like the round that you absolutely need to win.
And here, this is a bad sign with how they're playing default. They've got 5 ultimates. There should be some sort of set play. There should be something in the playbook for them, but it looks like they've already exhausted it. Everything was kind of banking on that A site. And Pure starts it off. Stealthy going down once again.
Got the spike.
I mean, you've got Aftermath who's already in through Hookah. It just feels like this needs to be the committal to make the play here. But Thwifo, who's holding aggressively at A cubby, finds himself another pickoff. Brando will deal with Aftermath, who was making a solo play onto the B side. And you had mentioned kind of while we were on break that Moon Raccoons has been playing more of a loose, more kind of a puggy style of Valorant. And well, they're getting absolutely punished by the stalwart defense of Pretty Boyz thus far, as they're likely going to take this 7th round, no problem.
Again, it's so troubling to see. This is their rifle round. They've got every ultimate online. They're not even able to find an entry here. They've only picked up 1. Thwifo finishing it all off. That's 7 in a row on this defense for Pretty Boyz, as Moon Raccoons struggling to find anything. Grasping at straws here, and now they're forced onto the eco round. And Pretty Boyz, you know, I think that was like the best look coming out from Moon Raccoons on their last eco round, where they were able to get Thwifo early on. And that's so troubling to see that the eco round was the best round that they've had.
There's just been a big lapse of judgment, I think, for Moon Raccoons. You have taken the hookah area away every single time without really having to spend much. It was a hot hands and a boom bot that was really kind of fighting up against each other. That was about it. I mean, that was the only abilities we saw being used both defensively and offensively. So now is almost as if they could hear us. Moon Raccoons will start to make their approach towards hookah, but again, they're on an eco, and Aaron is in a position to slow this and potentially wall it to slow any presence through. You've also got Thwifo nearby who could spam through a lot of this. Hunter's Fury going to try to come through to try to open up a little bit of extra space. Stealthy finds 1 tag, but that will be about it. Aaron on top of his own wall will find 2 kills. Brando there with him. That's going to be what was essentially a triple, and it's one of those things that with all the ultimates you have plus weapons, that's an approach that you could actually dissect, I think, for Moon Raccoons. This time, because they're on an eco, you have to essentially full flood into it, and unfortunately, Pretty Boyz is ready for it.
Yeah, and ready is definitely the key word there. You saw, of course, that adjustment coming out from Pretty Boyz. Thwifo, of course, having that Odin for what feels like, 5 rounds now? So far that they've been able to maintain it, changing that position, sending him over to the B site, setting up that one-way over by Hookah as well, slowing them down. So such good reads coming out from Pretty Boyz. You know, they're not just winning the aim duels, but they've gotten into their heads mentally now. Thwifo going for that peek over by Showers, once again changing up the position with that Odin.
You can just feel this smirk on Thwifo's face every time he finds a kill like this. Aftermath will be able to make his way in the back from the end of the shadows. Pure is going to be scouted out. Brilliant read. He's only able to find 1 instant trade from Stealthy, but he's brought down to 6 HP. So good value all in all from the showstopper. Thwifo very aware that he's going to be dealing with an Omen behind him. And when you thought he had the jump on him, considering the spy camp position, it's actually just an even trade. Aaron will tilt the numbers back in the favor of Pretty Boyz while spending the resurrection. Now we've got a 3-on-1 Stealthy at 6 HP. His hopes of winning the round are low, but at least he's able to get the spike plant down.
Yeah, he finds the first pick, now brought down to a 1v2, but they know his position as he does back away. Paranoia doesn't connect, and he's spotted out. They know he's in back labs.
Shockdar will get the job done. Nice little bounce pass from Brando to secure things up. And if I'm not mistaken, that's only the 2nd time we've seen the spike be planted this attacking half for Moon Raccoons. So not only has Pretty Boyz been comfortable as far as the score is concerned, but just kind of reiterating the point that their defense has been nearly completely flawless. Yeah, that's indeed the case. Only 2 diffuses have been necessary thus far. Pretty Boyz running away with this one in the first path so far.
And I'm wondering why Skelly is still sitting on this orbital strike right now. Again, we saw that one push on over to the B side. I feel like that was probably one of the best places to try and utilize it here. We're going to go for another short A push. This time around, Thwifo's not going to be there to try and shut them down. But they do have the Raise, of course, and a lot of the slowing abilities that come out with the duo that's left on the A site.
Recon Bolt will be dealt with early. Orbital Strike used, again, pretty blindly and pretty aggressively. Doesn't look like it found too much. It only flushes out a couple of members from pushing through, and that's going to give an opportunity for Rebo to work his way on. But even with the tracking dart attached to him, Brando's still able to find the trade. Spike will be planted here likely in this 4v4, although Frosty actually had to step off of it for a moment. So now there's all of a sudden an opportunity for Pretty Boyz to work their way back on. Aaron finds 1 kill. Numbers advantage for Pretty Boyz on the retake attempt. Dwifo's made his way into Lamp. He's going to have some help here as aggressively pushing through the incendiary as Anderson as he finds 2. Neuro Theft will be used. The trades are good. And Pretty Boyz, again, taking Moon Raccoons a little bit unawares.
And I'm trying to break down this offense, but it just feels so haphazard, so rushed, I would say, coming up from Moon Raccoons. I don't see much logic behind what they're actually trying to do. Like you said, that orbital strike coming out, all it did was, of course, force Pure out of position, who was playing with the operator by showers. And ultimately, it did end up getting them a kill, but they weren't able to set up decent post-plant positions. That's kind of what you want with that orbital strike. You want to at least, delay the defuse. We typically see that here on the post-plant positions for Brimstones or clear out places like Heaven and U-Haul. And they've got to commit other abilities to try and maintain that control now. But here we go, set up on the eco, and they're going to go for, it looks like a B push. It's a little bit of a default, though, as they still have 1 over at mid and 1 maintained control over by showers.
It's just one of those things that I would have loved to have seen Moon Raccoons try to do a hookah hit on a weapon round. It's just everything has been by eco. Stealthy already tagged up. Nice headshot onto Pier. That'll shut down not just the top fragger for the side of Pretty Boyz, but also the operator player. Brando still watching from Heaven. Aaron holding tight to the bottom side of the hookah wall. Aftermath is there. Considered a shrouded step. Dark cover comes through. This is awkward. He's able to get it off, but he's going to be red completely. Doesn't make a difference. Still wins the gunfight. I believe has some information that Dwifo has made the play through B long, but this is all just bait. Everything else from Moon Raccoons is actually flooding over to A, and the Hunter's Fury is going to be forced out for Brando as he tries to solo defend this.
There we go. He picks up 1. Now they're just down to the Sova and the Cypher. They'll at least get the spike plant down, Pretty Boyz, with the 3-man for the retake.
Brando's still in a good position. He's cleared off everything outside. There's no exit towards the bats. And now you've got opportunity to know exactly where Stealthy is, as the spam through the box will do the trick. Dwifo right outside the cyber cage will clean things up. I mean, Jamerson, it's hard to get a full read. Is Pretty Boyz playing this well, or is Moon Raccoons just kind of not being able to formulate a actual coordinated hit?
It seems like both. It definitely seems like both at this point. Pretty Boyz are definitely playing well. I think one of the few mistakes they made was what we saw. The course of events, I don't know exactly what transpired there over by Hookah with the Shrouded Step and that weird duel that took place. That was one of the few missteps, one of the few mistakes that they've made so far here on the defense. But Moon Raccoons, again, they've defaulted to a very buggy style, and they're getting punished for it. It's been a very mixed match kind of offense, and you can see it here because they've got no rounds going into the final one in this half.
You saw even a couple of luxury weapons were purchased and left behind for Pretty Boyz defensively, just in case the operators don't get the job done. First attempt we've seen for the side of Moon Raccoons through B long, but I mean, that's just a dry peek from Aftermath where you've got no information. Brando punishes a second. There's no smokes, no flashes. Nothing seems to be deterring him. Now, finally, a curveball will be held, but Brando's going to use the owl drone to try to scout, although awkward. It looked like it was stuck inside the tin can. And Frosty will find eventually his first kill so far in the game with that pickoff, but still numbers for Pretty Boyz.
I'm going to need to double check that scoreboard because I don't doubt you, but that's so surprising.
It's not been good, Jamerson. It's not been good.
4v2, they don't even have the spike down. And they looks like, 4v3. They do still have the lurk coming out from Moon Raccoons over by short A, but Pretty Boyz have a good read on it. They've got the 3 stack over here to deal with it. 35 seconds left to go. They can, of course, just take that port, but no longer. As Pierre finds that pick onto Rebo, Frosty finally answers back, but do they have enough to really work with?
There goes 1, there goes 2. Dwifo, Aaron, perfect crossfire setup. Both will take 1 apiece, so yeah, Frosty gets on the board with 2 kills. But those are the only 2 that he's holding on to at the moment in a 12-0 first half for Pretty Boyz. Obviously here, you just win the pistol. You send us to our second map. Waiting for that second map is going to be Ascent. Or I guess to be fair, we did see this Moon Raccoon squad do relatively well on versus LmndStand, but And I'll tell you, this has not been a good start whatsoever for Moon Raccoons as far as their outlook for the entire best of 3.
No, not so ever. Pretty Boyz, even though, you know, a lot of times you kind of wonder if you're the champion, are you coming in this hot? And they definitely are. Looks like they were in the training grounds. They were definitely in death matches warming up for this because their shots have been absolutely on points. Again, very few missteps, very few mistakes that were made during their defense now. But take a look. It's going to be an all-out brawl over at Short A.
I mean, you only win one of those gunfights. That's just, I think, showing the mismatch currently in hand. I mean, that's just a face-up 4v4. Right through A short. Aaron delaying the plant for a small moment. Not sure why, but it's going to get that down successfully. Last point left alive is going to be Rebo. And boy, how do you even approach this? He's going to try to make his play wrapping through spawn. Dwifo has already knocked a headshot. He's going to try to play for the axe. He's going to get there, but the back pedal is good. A little bit of comical relief for us as Brando secures the 13th round by way of shock dart.
And honestly, I think that last play just kind of really sums up this matchup as Dwifo had his way with Moon Raccoons. That Odin play was so oppressive. And the way he played around it, of course, had some really great reads. So it wasn't just that, you know, their aim was on, but the way he was adjusting, moving around with that Odin, while it felt cheesy, it was still done in a very smart way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, you look for the innovation, and I won't say that's the most surprising angle, at least initially, to see an Odin be used, but definitely innovative to say the least. But that all said, Pretty Boyz having absolutely no problem on the bind. We will transition to Ascent next. And last we were here, Moon Raccoons started on the attack. They got 6 rounds, not bad, as they actually were, I think they got 5 of their 6 were in the first 6 or 7 rounds. They had a really strong start to that half. And then were able to close things out defensively with obviously the 7 that they needed for what was a 13-8 win last we saw them here. But obviously this is a much different caliber of opponent than LmndStand, at least as far as our initial offer has been given to us.
Yeah, if you take a look at the scoreline alone, it's head and shoulders above them at this point. And so while we did see Moon Raccoons struggle on this map, now you have to kind of wonder, what do you have in store? Again, that Odin play, will it come out for Dwifo again? And I feel like it definitely will. It depends on who's starting off on defense. It is going to be Moon Raccoons here. So we won't see that early cheese. But now we get to see a little bit more of Pretty Boyz' offense because we only got the 1 round when they swap sides on bind.
Well, we'll see what they can put together. We'll send things to a small break. Pretty Boyz trying to lock up another week here on the Fight Night Arena if they can find a way to take the Ascent when we come back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, as we're dealing with map number 2 of this best of 3. Our first 13-0, at least that I've seen in a long time, coming by way of that bind for our first matchup where Pretty Boyz had no problem whatsoever. And for Moon Raccoons, you were kind of talking a little bit just kind of mildly about how they're playing a little bit more loose than you would normally expect for a well-rehearsed and practiced squad. And maybe that caught LmondStand off guard, but that was not at all the case whatsoever, as Pretty Boyz' defense was literally perfect.
Yeah, I don't know shorter our break or that first map is. It's just a 13-0, and that was one of our first goose eggs that we've ever seen here at Fight Night, and one of the most, well, the most one-sided map that we've had so far. Like you had mentioned early on, we saw 3-4 rounds into the first half that the power players on the side of Moon Raccoons had almost no presence whatsoever. They were still sitting, I think, 0 kills for the majority of the map, and so again. I don't know how much you attribute that to the preparedness of Pretty Boyz or the lack of preparedness on the other side from Moon Raccoons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much preparation could come through, considering that we've got Aaron and Brando who are kind of following in, just kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe last minute. But Ascent is what we have coming up next. And this is a map that has, I think initially people were like, oh, this map is super offensively sided. And then the defenders woke up and said, nope, this is how you play defense on this map. At least at the top level, the professional level, if you want to call it that. The defense has absolutely been a little bit more favored when it comes down to it all in all, which I would say does not bode well for the side of Moon Raccoons. But when we saw them play this map, not only did they put together a good offensive round, but they also looked very good defensively. The big kind of flex and X factor is once again taking a look at how they play with the Omen. A lot of times on the attack, they were able to free up the Omen player to get mid-map, push forward over towards mid-market, and that was where a lot of their success came from on the attack. And so it'd be interesting to see if they try to keep that same sentiment alive here versus this Pretty Boy squad.
Yeah, what I'm wondering here is, does Swifo swap away from that Cypher? Typically, you don't. But also, when we do see Odin plays coming out on this map for the defensive side, it's usually, being that anchor, the Sova player with the anchor, with the Odin over on the B side. So I want to see, I hope that we can see more of their defensive end when we get there, really kind of see what kind of strategies they have for that. But starting on the offensive side is more of the fun exploration at this point, because again, one round, that's all we saw. And it was the pistol on the offensive side for Bind. And so at this point, all points indicate to that this should be another stomp coming out for Pretty Boyz.
It feels like a mismatch, especially when you take a look at your two top fraggers, and Stealthy and Frosty went, like 9 rounds before one of them found their first kill, and it wasn't until round 12 in which Frosty found his first 2. That's not good news. It doesn't bode well for you if you're looking at that from the perspective of Moon Raccoons, because they were the two that really kind of carried the weight throughout a lot of the matchup versus LmndStand. It was one of those that we felt like was going to be maybe tilting the other way after we saw, day one, Moon Raccoons not looking nearly as complete as you would have liked to have seen. And then you take down your major opponent, I would say, at this point in time with LmndStand, who did well, again, at the FaZe Clan Invitational just this last weekend. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a Pretty Boyz team that very well could be on the rise. We know that both Aaron and Brando are looking to put together a roster, and at least for this initial exhibit, we could sit there and be appreciative of the fact that they have found a good squad, at least for right now.
Yeah, this talent absolutely looks so great. Again, with how quickly they adapted, I think is one of the most impressive parts, really dealing with Aftermath. There was very few openings that he found, right? There was the one frag that he found onto Thwifo when he was able to get over the truck on the A side and make his way into U-Haul and punish him there on the eco round for themselves. And then we saw him also try to make that push over by the B site, right, where he challenged their Sage player, but that really didn't go so pretty. He ended up winning that duel, but again, it was a really good read coming out from Pretty Boyz, and it looks like they might have just downloaded their opponents. And I think also the indication of how Thwifo was playing around with that Odin, kind of figuring out exactly how they were going to push. So very smart plays. Again, you're compounding upon the fact that their aim has been looking stellar. They've been winning out their duels basically 95% of the time. Well, we do have a small sample size, of course, on that last map, but they were winning out those duels every single time. And of course, you compound with the fact that they had really good reads on their opponent.
Do you feel like for Moon Raccoons to have a chance at this matchup versus Pretty Boyz, especially starting on defense, you need Frosty and Stealthy to put together the same kind of performance that they did in our previous best of 3 versus LmndStand?
It's going to be difficult here, but yeah, you definitely do need, of course, 2 of your power players to do that. I'm trying to remember. Stealthy still plays the Sova on this map, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he was.
So it's going to be difficult. He's not going to have the same kind of explosivity, the same dynamic playstyle that a Jet could bring them, could afford them. And so we'll see. Again, though, they are starting off on the defensive side, so he doesn't have to have that same kind of mobility. He can just hold angles and fall back with it. But I feel like this might be one of those maps that even though you're a little bit more comfortable with that Sova, that the Jet might be a little bit more useful here once you go to the offensive side.
Well, Frosty, just as the other side of that same coin, will be on the Phoenix, and he was responsible a lot for the A site. That's where he's positioned initially. And this is another just quaint reminder. This was the map that Skelly didn't really have a lot to do. I think he only finished with 5 or 6 kills, but never really got too involved because his teammates were just killing everything so quickly. So we'll see what he's able to offer on the Brimstone. As for Pretty Boyz, their setup will have a trap wire to watch the flank from A. So will this be a commitment to the middle of the map? Will it be a commitment to B main? It feels like it'll be one of those two options. Just comes down to seeing where they decide they want to commit to.
Yeah, one of the early changes that we're seeing coming out from Moon Raccoons is that this is the pistol round, but they've got Aftermath actually playing over on the A side where he was, I believe, anchoring over at B beforehand.
Interesting call here. The paranoia gets tossed out just as a way to kind of bait, like, hey, we're hitting A, but Stealthy, who's been sitting at the back of his spawn, will find one. Rebo not able to lock down the shots on one of the crosses. Aaron goes for the challenge. Head help from Pure. And now the spike will make its way forward. Caught for a moment on the trap wire, and he thought for a second maybe Stealthy could punish, and that would have made for a very interesting dynamic as Pretty Boyz would have needed to collect that spike, but that doesn't happen in this universe. Spike gets plighted, and Dwifo on a long flank could play spoiler, sees one up close, is right up behind it. There's one, there's two, looking for the third, goes for the reload first. Cyber Cage comes down, looking for help for his teammates, and it will be there as Pure and Brando will clean things up. Brilliant lurking play, though, from Dwifo to help on Pretty Boyz secure the first round.
Yeah, brilliant lurk, but also just a very fast rotation coming out from Pretty Boyz, as having control over mid and being able to make that rotation through market for free, honestly, was really great to see. And like you said, picking up 2 new players, right, kind of slotting them into the roster, but still having that quick reaction is such a great sign for Pretty Boyz. And if they stick together as a 5, I feel like, you know, they've got a lot of growth left ahead of them. That kind of commitment to a call is something that's very rare to see in a squad.
Well, here we go again, Pretty Boyz. Full 5-man stack over to A. Moon Raccoons again on the second round anti-eco are going to be in a position to where they're actually grouped up pretty heavily in the middle of the map, but this is all an execute for Pretty Boyz quickly towards the A site. They'll get here. No one will fall defensively for Moon Raccoons, but retaking this site is going to be extremely difficult. 4 members wrapping all the way around, but there is a trap wire here to at least get some information. It just comes down to, will Pretty Boyz read that it is 4 members that are coming from the flank?
Yeah, I've always undervalued Cypher on the offensive side, but there, the trapwire actually shows why it can be so strong for the post. Let's, oh man.
Favorite's pretty good last I checked. As you'll find the pre-fire spam classic for the final. And for Rebo, he's just going to be left kind of wondering what the heck just happened. He's going to try to go for a couple of exit kills. Might get an opportunity onto a Ren, who's able to just get the Spectre out in time for his 4th kill in the round. Pretty Boyz, as expected, take the round, but very convincingly 2-0 up.
That just can't happen. That just can't happen. When 3 people are standing right in front of 1, you've got to be able to at least go for the trade. And so that's just an indication of just things going all downhill from here. If we have another 13-0, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, it's starting to bode towards that. But here's the good news. Stealthy's able to afford an early operator. We didn't mention it much on Bind because, it was round 6 or 7 was the first he was able to get the operator in his hands. The fact that you've gotten it a lot sooner is good news for Moon Raccoons. It just comes down to, will he be offered the same opportunity? Well, he's given away his position. Dart cover and a slow orb will be placed. He'll be forcing the recon dart just to take a look to see if anyone's coming through the middle of the map, but it's dealt with before he gets the intel gathering. So Pretty Boyz now in a free open path to get through the A catwalk. You've got Skelly here, a trap wire to help, plus you also have Frosty nearby. And this is going to be an execute hit to hit the tree room, and it comes through successfully. Anderson for first blood.
Skelly does find one to answer back, but Pure midair is able to take out Skelly and playing within that range. Now it's going to be the 3v3 here. Spike hasn't gotten onto the site quite yet, and so they still have to get it down.
And Aaron's in a position where, yeah, his barrier orb is going to give him information. Is anyone going to challenge through the garden? And he's looking for an instant trade, but Rebo will swing wide on him, find the kill. Brando dealing with a tracking dart, shock dart out. Well, he gets paranoid, and the retake will be successful. And a good hold for Moon Raccoons, all things considered. I mean, you don't really give away too much outside of just that initial pressure through the A catwalk, and with a quick defuse to follow, that's a pretty solid 3rd round for you.
Yeah, so you have an undefined increase in performance so far for Moon Raccoons. I don't know, 1/0. Can you still divide by 0? Yeah, I wasn't a math major, so I don't know how all that works. But yeah, Pretty Boyz now they will be able to, of course, buy back into this round, and so it's still an uphill struggle for Moon Raccoons, as we do have a full rifle round. It was a lot of SMGs for Pretty Boyz in the last one. So we're going to be a bit on more even footing. Stealthy, though, is going to change up the positioning with that operator. He played it early on at mid, but this time he's going to try and challenge over at B main.
And for Pretty Boyz, Anderson on the Omen will once again be responsible for trying to clear out what's happening over towards the A cubby and short. And so not a lot being used here, just information gathering for both squads. Frosty once again trusted with the tree room. Has been quick to drop hot hands when he feels he's under threat, but it's going to be the Hunter's Fury that comes out. That's actually going to be from Brando, who's able to get information on Frosty, pushes him off. This is going to be the take of the A tree room, at least you would anticipate. Skelly's here, has an incendiary to play with if he wants to. Trapwire dealt with, swings wide, but walks into the waiting arms of about 3 different members from Pretty Boyz, and the take on A looks good as they also deal with Frosty. Last player left to essentially exist on the site itself is Rebo, topside heaven, but his life isn't going to be lasting for long as the spike gets planted.
Yeah, Pretty Boyz just going again, going back to the well for that 8 push, and it worked out well this time around. They were slowed down last time by Skelly, who was playing over by Tree, but this is what it looks like with the execute when you have the same kind of footing with weaponry here. And so it's going to be the save coming out for Moon Raccoon. Stealthy going to back away with that operator. As you can see, Aftermath all the way back at attacker spawn. Aaron coming in for the eco on that res as well.
You got to be careful here. Aftermath's in a position to where he very well could sneak a kill or two, depending on how far forward Pretty Boyz push. This is definitely not an angle that I would be checking. We'll see if Anderson is wiser than I. As, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh wait, he doesn't see him.
What?
No way, he doesn't see him. Oh no.
Well, I don't think he ever makes that mistake again.
Absolutely not.
But still, though, as you can see, that save was very important for Moon Raccoons, as one more player is going to be able to buy into this round. It looks like it's going to be the judge coming out from Aftermath, and we got to see how strong he was able to hold with it over by B main. This time, though, he's going to be holding over at A with it.
And I can appreciate the adjustment here because Pretty Boyz have mostly found their success by way of the tree room in that A garden. Anderson will deal with the recon bolt before his position will be made aware. Again, using a lot of smoke to get through. Dark cover also being placed mid-map. That'll block off line of sight from Stealthy. Will he hold the angle? Looks like he will for now. Pretty Boyz pretty dedicated towards making this play through B main. This will be the first real big test in a full gun run for Moon Raccoons. Rebo, he held this corner by wood before. He'll do it again. The one-way smoke, not great, as Brando will find 2. Not even taking a shred of damage in the meantime, and that's going to be a pretty successful take. Anderson watching the middle of the map will find 1. Pure with the instant trade. 1v4 situation for Frosty to try to navigate.
1v3 now as he brings it closer, but again, Pretty Boyz, it feels like they just have such a good read. The playbook is so much deeper than what we've seen out of Moon Raccoons so far. Pretty Boyz, they've got a really good set A play, and it looks like their set B play is good as well. But their adjustment on the fly, I think, is what I commend most out of them, as Frosty's just going to go for that save, as he understands that operator is going to be clutch. He needs to get it back into the hands of Stealthy to try and get something going here on the defense.
Well, at least you keep the operator in hand. That's the only real bit of good news, right? I mean, but that's a silver lining in such a dark shade of gray that, yeah, Aaron's he's like, okay,
this angle. This is the angle.
Okay, this is the one. Marshall pick up for Skelly. See if he holds on to that.
Kind of awkward. He's swapped positions. Now going to go over to main or over to mid, or is it going to be a 4-stack? Moon Raccoons are indicating now, and so it looks like it will be. He's going to be playing over by Glass with that one.
And it looked like he did actually repurchase up that Marshall just before the round came to a conclusion. Stealthy. He would have loved to have that one back. Frosty looking to get aggressive with the running back. He's actually done well to find one. Would be great if he could find the second. Not able to do it. Pure trying to test his luck, but Frosty will punish. Aaron up top. That's a brilliant timing on the barrier orb as he will make his way forward. The spike is not here on this attack, by the way. So this is all well and good. Skelly with the position to try to marshal it up, and he will find the head of Aaron. But everyone defensively from Moon Raccoons has made their way into A, and they're going to quickly realize, has anyone seen the spike yet? Nope, not the case. So Dwifo in a 1v3 with a Phantom to play with very well could do this.
They're setting up for this defense. They've even closed the door, and so he'll get this free plant eventually. 54 seconds left in the round. Surprised that no one from Moon Raccoons have actually rotated off, especially without vision of spike, and so that could be a crucial mistake. I mean, you need to try and punish everything, right? You got to make sure that they don't even get the spike plant, but Pretty Boyz, they've already got a decent bait to work with, and they're even going to be able to get the spike plant money as well.
I mean, I can see both sides of it. I agree with you. My initial reaction is you want to make sure that that extra 1,500 never gets secured, but at the same point, you really need a round. So let's just try to retake this as a full stack of 3. And well, set up is Dwifo. Decent position to check the camera for any angle coming not just through B main, but obviously also through the mid-market, of which here come all 3 Moon Raccoon players. Paranoia will come through, not going to be able to tag too much, and he's going to find all 3 players. Cyber Cage gets used. He's got a neural depth available as well. Here's the sound cue. It's going to be an orbital strike. He finds one, pushes right through, nearly able to walk right into Skelly, but won't find the pick, and there should be enough time, no problem, for Moon Raccoons to secure their second run off the defuse.
But you see how desperate the situation there is. Yeah. Even in a 1v3, having to use the orbital strike for a retake, that's not a good sign. I've said that way too many times this set, but again, we're seeing the holes in Moon Raccoon's play so far, that they've been struggling once it comes down to very structured play that's coming out from Pretty Boyz.
Severe lack of confidence, I think, is the biggest thing. It's one of those, positions where, like we mentioned, you really need to get that round back in hand. I think we said the exact same thing when we last saw them kind of ambitiously use a orbital strike, where we thought that, okay, maybe you didn't need it, but it definitely feels like desperation more than anything else at the moment, as Pretty Boyz now with their next attack for round number 7 are making their way immediately over towards B main. They're also going to use the Into the Shadows for Anderson to get onto the site. He'll clear things out backside of the arches, and that'll be enough to allow the spike to make its way on. Reba will only find 1 kill defensively, and now it's going to be on to Frosty and the rest of Moon Raccoons to try to work away to get onto the site for a retake.
Pretty Boyz just displaying once again how effective their executes have been. It comes fast and heavy here as Pierre set up in Rebo's position. As we'll see when he goes for that peek. The flash comes out, and now he goes for it, picks up 2 more before he goes down. Pretty Boyz about to get 5 under their belts.
Aaron goes for a little bit of an ego chow there into Stealthy, thinking he might just be able to outgun him. Not going to happen, but he's got reinforcement behind him, no problem. This comes down to how do you exit here for Pretty Boyz. They don't necessarily need to save the weapons on the exit, but it would be great if they could. Right-click from the classic for Dwifo will be able to secure the kill, and unfortunately, Anderson not quite fast enough to get out of the range of the spike detonation. 5-2
now, and typically we don't see this dominant of an offensive side. And again, we're going back to that mismatch. An eco round now for Moon Raccoons here. And they could have a light buy. Some sheriffs can be tossed around for the squad. And when we talk about Moon Raccoons' offense, or excuse me, their defense, some of their best rounds, again, have been on these weird eco rounds where they catch them off guard. Pretty Boyz, though, looks like they're going to go for another set play onto A. It's been a little while since they've gone for it here. As Moon Raccoons, they're going for a little bit of cheesy play as 4-man death ball going through mid. So that's just going to mean a free sight for Pretty Boyz on A.
This is the all-in on red, and the roulette wheel comes up black. As this will be a free plant, and for Pretty Boyz, they have a trapwire to help deal with this push through. Anderson also here is going to hear a number of footsteps coming through. He should be expecting this. Brilliant angle. Anderson, 1, 2. There's Brando for the 3rd and the 4th. Frosty, last one left alive, stuck in garden, and, well, you can't take it by my candor. Not all that hopeful that he'll be able to clutch this one up.
Yeah, there's no free entry for him. He's got the barrier in front of him along with the glass wall to break it. He'll be heard. And then you got to expect, with having cleared out the attacker spawn, the lurk, does it actually work out? He gets pure.
And a second, okay. zesty shots. That Sheriff will upgrade to a Phantom, so he won't have a chance for the defusal, but at least exits with a couple of punishing kills and a weapon upgrade for free, so that's not the worst case scenario for Frosty.
I'll say at the beginning of this match, there was a lot more respect being shown by Pretty Boyz, but now you're seeing kind of like
Yes.
the arrogance that's coming out for them.
Yeah.
I was saying before Frosty was able to pick up that double kill, that the exit was there for them, right? They completely cleared out attacker spawn. They could have just backed away that way for the free exit. Instead, they end up gifting away 2 kills along with that AR. But now Pretty Boyz are really just feeling themselves really confident in their play. 6-2 definitely is the reason why, and especially after that 13-0 in the first map.
That goes there.
Pretty Boyz have a lot to work with here. Blade Storm if they want it. And, well, hey, you call it out. There it is. They also have a Hunter's Fury and the Neuro that to potentially use. Pure, who actually only has a Spectre as his main primary weapon, will, I imagine, be trying to use this Blade Storm as a way to kind of substitute as the main, and Rebo is able to essentially bamboozle Thwifo for what feels like probably the first time. Coming inside, the right click misses to the Spectre, able to catch Aftermath before he can get the reload off of the Operator. Immediately goes for the swap, picking up the Sniper. Cloud bursts off the defensive side at spawn. Aaron able to finally get the trade onto Rebo, and with that, 3v3 breaks loose. Skelly, last bullet needed for the spam will land into the head of Pure, but the spike has been planted, and you have a Hunter's Fury to work with.
2v3 here on the post plant, but they're stuck on site. Hunter Fury's come out. It's not going to get any information for him, but he is at least clearing out attacker spawn or defender spawn.
A bit of hesitation, right? I mean, the recon bolt does find the information initially, but doesn't pull the trigger immediately. Nice team shots coming through as Brando will get credit. Skelly with his 3rd kill. He actually finds a couple of tags through the wall, but Brando, pistol v pistol, works the right click and is able to lock down the headshots onto Stealthy, who once again, unfortunately, comes up empty, and Pretty Boyz now secure their 7th round, leading in round number 10.
And while that was a close round for Moon Raccoons, right, it came down to the 1v1. It all really started off by, again, the arrogance coming out from Pretty Boyz. They're not checking the same angles that you normally would when it's a little bit closer there. I think, you know, for Stealthy to have been able to pick up that first frag of the round for Moon Raccoons, it was kind of a lucky spray through smoke. And Pretty Boyz just not checking the attackers or defender spawn. At this point, I think Pretty Boyz do clean things up a little bit more, tighten things up on their offense, and make sure, of course, they just play good, fundamental Valorant, as we have Thwifo pulling out the Odin here on the offensive side.
Is that an example of good fundamental Valorant right there?
Yeah.
Starting to feel like it, right? Beer is going to push right through the hot hands. Actually catches a bit of a shock dart, deals with the initial run it back, has an idea on where Frosty's positioned. The paranoia will be good for a little bit of peel. And with 1 kill coming through, Skelly's going to follow up with a 2nd and a 3rd, but Pure on the site, still too strong, only existing with what apparently was 21 more HP than he needed. And Pretty Boyz will secure now their 8th round as we go into round 11 and 12. This is a must-win round for Moon Raccoons. You're going to be able to buy up again here, but you really don't want to look down the barrel of a 10-2 going into your attacking half.
Yeah, this is just pure DM at this point for Pretty Boyz. Never mind. Scratch everything I said in the last round here. As Pretty Boyz, they've I guess they've earned the arrogance right now that they can pull off, because we do see the skill gap between the two teams right now. Pretty Boyz, again, look like they're in a completely different league up against Moon Raccoons. Oh, small little gap in that cage. Stealthy, though. Doesn't have anyone challenge it. Thwifo is just playing over by B main, still on the attacker side.
A lot of early spam, but it's not baiting out a lot of abilities, at least not as of yet. Spike is in the hands of Anderson, who's making his way potentially through the middle of the map, which is in very good, comfortable control of Pretty Boyz. Again, their big approach towards A has been through this garden side. You do have Frosty and Skelly holding their normal positions. Sky Smoke available, plus the Orbital Strike. He's going to channel that one up. Hot Hands comes down. Sky Smoke will be used as a way to kind of block the line of sight of what's coming out of the Orbital Strike, and Skelly will find 2 hits. Now Stealthy over the middle of the map will find 1. Recon Dart coming through. Rez comes out, but Stealthy is ready for the jump peek out of Thwifo, so that's all that's left is Aaron off of his Rez. And you feel like even this 2v4 is very doable, as Aaron and Brando will try to navigate this one together.
why I'm such a huge proponent for Sage on this map, particularly if you're starting off on the offensive side. Those boosts can really catch teams off guard. We also saw the utilization of it over by B main, where you try to peek in, make that set play, right? You're able to get the boost on over and look through the windows, and Aaron, I believe, ended up picking one up. But it looks like Moon Raccoons, they'll be able to pick up their third round here in the half for their defense. Can they finish out the half with 4?
Yeah, that was the must-win round. That was the big obstacle to get through. Now it's just down to running with the economy that you have to try to secure this next one. Because, yeah, 4-8 is really, you have to have it, you feel like. Considering the fact that we've kind of labeled this as a pretty big mismatch so far for what we've seen. Now you're running with double operator into the face of 5 ARs, but only 3 full pieces of armor. So best chance for Moon Raccoons to really add. This is probably the first time we can say that they've had an economical advantage over Pretty Boyz this half.
Yeah, stealthy though, pushing aggressively here.
Boy, nice shot.
What?
Get out of my way.
I mean, that's just. This is what we expected to see from him from the first matchup, flat out. Those were the kind of shots he was hitting before. Aftermath will find another. Brando looking to get the kill with the Hunter's Fury. Stealth be able to dance with it a little bit, and Aftermath will actually get aggressive and find the pick on a Brando. Anderson into the shadows will clear out the B site. Aaron with another pickup will leave it now to a 2v3. Skelly, though, there for the trade. Just down to Aaron.
All right, we'll see what he's got. A nice wall to bring this down to a solo duel, but Rebo will finally be able to clutch that one out. 4-8 at the half, and that's not what we're typically used to seeing here for a defensive end, but they give themselves a little bit of breathing room. But last time the Pistols, we saw what? It came down to a 4v4, right? That broke out over by Tree Room. We'll see if that's going to be the same case here, as Moon Raccoons now are going to be on the offensive end.
Last time they were on the attack, they took 6 rounds in the half in their first best of 3, but a lot of it came at the back end of Aftermath, was pushing through the middle of the map. He used the dark cover to block off a cubby, blocked off a arches, and then just walked his way forward into the middle of the map. You see a trap wire is already placed defensively for Pretty Boyz right in the location that Aftermath wanted to use in that previous best of 3. So we'll see if he continues to try to make that play happen, or will it be a little bit of a different setup for Moon Raccoons in their attacking approach.
Ooh, cheeky shock dart gets some decent damage off. Should take some armor away at the very least by Brando here. The Thwifo starts it all off. Stealthy going down first. That is not what you want to see.
Not at all. Mid-market will be pushed through. Thwifo, good cyber cage comes through. He's going to hear a lot of sound triggers of how many players are coming through. Aftermath, oh no, he gets absolutely bamboozled by the bunny hop. And well, I guess Easter come early or late, depending on how you look at it, but it gets the job done. Pretty Boyz able to take the first pistol.
Yeah, hopefully it comes early. 2020 can already be over, please.
Thank you.
I can't believe it's already August, by the way.
No, me too, dude. I literally looked outside and I thought it was still spring for a second. It's been so quick.
Take a look at the buy coming out from them. The Pretty Boyz just want to close this out early on. Again, they're going with the SMGs here for the defense as they've spread up, but they've commanded so much map control. They're pushing up now through the tree room as well. Mid is going to be, of course, given up by them as they're just smoked off time and again. Aaron with the boost. This might be the angle to work with.
Yep, there's one. Trying to lock down the second. The barrier orb actually provides a bit of a line of sight break, but the third kill comes through. Anderson quick for the trade. And, well, it's just down to one. Revo, 1v4 situation with the pistol to work with, and he's already hightailing it back through spawn.
So it was the third round that Moon Raccoons were able to get in the half, and that's when, of course, we see that power disparity in terms of firepower with all the SMGs that Pretty Boyz are holding on to currently. I believe they only brought in, was it a Guardian that I saw on one? Or
I think so.
Yeah. And so we'll only have one more upgraded AR, it looks like, going into that final round. Maybe two, actually, with that pick.
That'll do well. Maybe an opportunity to get the spike planted as Rebo is just trying to be slippery. He's worked his way through the A garden and now is making his way around to B. Thwifo will be the first one to try to deal with this, but you don't want to give away too much more if you're Pretty Boyz. Yeah, this is going to be a confirmed spike plant for Moon Raccoons. This has been turning out pretty nicely. Thwifo with an aggressive angle. He'll see the shoulder of Rebo, and that's an easy spam through position as he will leave the defuse for someone more needing of the ultimate charge. And apparently the conversation says, give it to Brando.
Yeah, Thwifo should almost have his ultimate, but also you don't really need to rush that Neuralink.
Yeah, the Neuralink.
Yeah, so like it's not as necessary. So now Pretty Boyz 3 rounds away from taking the match here. As we do see, of course, those upgrades coming in. So we're going to have Anderson on that Phantom at the very least. They've got that going for them in this firepower mismatch. Moon Raccoons, this is their opportunity to try and scrap back into this.
Yeah. And I hate to say that you already have a must-win round on hand, but you lose this 11th, it's also likely going to lead to a 12th after that. So I'll go ahead and say it. This is a must-win round for Moon Raccoons. You've got an advantage of the weaponry at the moment. It looks like there will be that same kind of opening setup where you've got Rebo, who's responsible for watching the B main push through with his camera, while Aftermath tries to push through the middle of the map with his dark covers. Can he sidestep this Aldrum? Looks like he has. And he's going to continue to try to push on forward. Pure in a tough spot. Actually gets caught by Skelly. So First Blood comes out, and what we wanted to know was the outcome of Aftermath pushing through the middle. Nothing will come out. Rebo, a little bit windy with the shots, will not secure what should have been a free kill, you feel like, on Anderson.
Shadows traveling.
Yeah, Pretty Boyz don't have the rest to work with, but still, it's a 4v4 at the very least, as Moon Raccoon slowing things down. 54 seconds left here. Rebo looking for anything, but when it slows down like this is where I just feel like this is Pretty Boyz' game. They're okay with this pace. As Moon Raccoon's trying to play for the contact, but Brando is the one that spots him out, takes him out, and they're committing onto this site.
This is a great take coming through. Frosty tries to curve ball out. Skelly deals with Brando, and the dark cover comes through. That should be information from Frosty that, yep, Anderson is in the back. Hell of a snap from Frosty to get the secured kill. 2v3, Stealthy holding on to his operator. Thwifo is definitely giving this an opportunity to push through. Is going to go for a bit of spam through the walls. Not going to find the kill. You thought for a second maybe Adrian would find the timing. He's not able to get the kill either. So Healthy will be the retakers, but low in numbers. Not a lot to work with utility-wise. Nice shots from Thwifo onto one of the back. Abram able to take care of Skelly on the default position. Last one is going to be Stealthy. Misses the operator shot. Thwifo able to punish. The 2v3 retake comes in. And what needed to be a must-win round will turn into Pretty Boyz securing their 11th.
And just cowering in corners where the Moon Raccoons there on the post plant. You know, a lot of those times you've got to go for the double peek, right? Commit to one side at the very least and go for the trade, but not a single one came in, and it was a 3v2 post plant.
Yeah, you got to find trades there, or at least double peeks. Something. I get that you're low on HP and you want to try to like, hold these tight corners and just hope you get favorable timings, but I don't know. So 4-11 to score here. It'll be a 4-spy situation for Moon Raccoons as they will go into what is mostly all ARs, if you want to put an asterisk next to the Bulldog. We'll see how Rebo's able to find value with it. You also have Frosty with a run it back. He's been known to use this aggressively at the beginning of the round. Will that be the case once again? Aaron was also trying to get a bit ambitious to the middle of the map. The spy cam will shrug him away, and with that, Moon Raccoons will take possession of the middle of the map.
Now at this point, Moon Raccoons, they have to bank off something like that. Aftermath, you know, he was the large reason why that they were able to create so much space before with his playstyle, control of mid. We talked about it at the top of the map. There we go, finding that first frag. That's something that they desperately need here, especially on the back of a force-up.
Aftermath has actually given up the middle of the map through market, though. He gets his pick and then backs away. It's going to be a 5-man concentrated hit through B main. Thwifo with a camera. Oh boy, here it comes. We'll find one. Run it back, gets triggered, comes on through. Big pick for Frosty, able to keep the numbers in their advantage. Aaron now trying to make his way forward. Sky Smoke will stop him from getting in. Scattered fight happening inside the smoke, but Frosty's able to find his second during the channel of his ultimate. Spike will be planted behind this. 3v2, an orbital strike to play with. You have, I mean, you win this round. You have to if you're Moon Raccoons.
Yeah, they have a decent post plant set up, though, as Frosty was able to maintain his position over at B main. And so it's not a singular angle that they have to play off of. He play the lurk here, but position is given away. He's got the flash out now. The timing, though, is pure. Peeks it at the right time, goes in for the tailwind, but Stealthy punishes it.
Yeah, and Brando unfortunately really couldn't get there to assist, but just the operator. A little bit of a mistime play coming up, but regardless, Brando will give this round away, keep the operator. Moon Raccoons will stay alive. They'll find their 5th round, but things are still going to be a bit dire. Again, you're going into a 4 spy into this round, so the money will not necessarily be as comfortable as you would expect. We'll see if anyone can buy for each other to try to help out that problem and alleviate it just a touch, but you can already see Aftermath is already kind of committed to a Spectre. And Frosty will also not be able to bring an AR to the battlefield either. Actually, pardon me, someone will buy for him, so... Not bad overall for Moon Raccoons, but again, the same sentiment. You've got Pretty Boyz who are still very comfortable with their own arsenal.
Again, still an odd look for Moon Raccoons. Typically, we're not used to seeing Skelly here on the top rack for the team, but Frosty and Stealthy have been having a difficult time finding their footing here. But on their offense, it looks like this is one of their better looks. But at the very least, Brando, though, starts it all off. Stealthy going down first.
A lot of info off that recon bolt. Aftermath, Paranoia, dark cover, teleport, will get into his zone dark cover. Pure, I don't know if he's fully anticipated this. He's got Brando watching over the top, and he's done well to find 2. So the only one left, and actually he hits the shot through the wall. Brando immediately swaps to the pistol for his 4th. Give him the ace. Just let him have it.
Enemy down.
They get the die back at the very least, but this is one of those moments where I rage quit. I'll be honest with you. I rage quit after that. Brando, 19, 10, and 8, it looks like, for the squad, has really shown up. As, who was it largely? It was largely Thwyfo and Anderson, right, on Bind. That were doing a massive amount of the legwork, but here we go. We're seeing a lot of course, Silva players. Very crucial here on Ascent, especially for the defense.
Pure, again, getting aggressive. Recon bolt will not allow him to fully push through. Nice shot from Frosty, blindly through the smoke. Slow orb, barrier orb placed. Anderson immediately rotates over to help defensively by way of his ultimate. Also holding on to a Paranoia just in case, and the combination of this could be absolutely incredible for Pretty Boyz. Stealthy's found a way to pick up a Phantom. That'll help in the effort, but Moon Raccoons are realizing, A, we don't have the spike. B, beyond that, we heard the end of the shadows come through. You figure a rotation has come out, and they'll back up and reset with just over a minute to play.
They finally recovered the bomb, and it looks like they are rotating on over to the B site. As Thwyfo has moved his way over to mid, and so he's now coming back on over to help out, as it's the 2-2 split for the Pretty Boyz as they're waiting for the execute. Now, it's all about the delay. Can they slow them down for the 2 players from A to come over quickly enough? Of course, we're seeing in Valorant that teams are getting better and better with the post plant, that they're more comfortable with that situation than they are for just defending the site.
Well, that's not good news. Thwyfo finds the first onto the end of the shadows, trying to get the spam through. Will take a bit of damage from the orbital strike. Reba will finalize the kill, and the take of the B site will be good. You've got Pretty Boyz looking for the retake, mostly on the back end of what will be 2 members from the defensive side at Spawn Arch, but you also have a long flank developing for Anderson through B main. The problem is that there are trap wires to scout this out.
I know exactly.
Neural Theft as well going to be used to kind of reiterate the same defensive retake positions that are going to be coming out here. Paranoia placed in a good spot, but there's no immediate follow-up coming through. Frosty will take down Aaron. Rebo, good information off the spy cam. That'll be good for a second follow-up kill. Last one left is Anderson, who can no longer commit for the defuse, but he can at least play for a handful of exits. This comes down to how many will he grab. Oh boy. Nearly lining up was Moon Raccoons, but the trade is there, and Moon Raccoons will secure the 6th round.
The ultimate prize, of course, on top of getting that round, is securing Thwyfo's Odin.
Sure, yeah.
So we got to see how he actually utilized it as well on the offense, which was kind of a nice little treat to see. But Pretty Boyz, again, they have so many rounds to work with still here, just for Moon Raccoons to send this into overtime. And so they'll be okay with doing some light buys into this, even though their economy not that great. Never mind. Thwyfo was concerning the Odin. I wouldn't be surprised if they commit to it, though, but it looks like they won't.
Get out of my way.
Bladestorm comes out, and I don't know if initially Stealthy was thinking, is that a barrel? Nope, never mind. It's just a crouching bear. But the Bladestorm will provide for an interesting dynamic here for this approach, especially if it does commit to getting into A, which is currently where Pure is sitting. Mostly playing for what looks to be the burst right click. Aaron also still very deadly with the Spectre in the tree room, has blocked off the potential of a catwalk hit. Moon Raccoons very much so biding their time.
We've been seeing that out of Pretty Boyz, right? Aaron has been using that wall early on. It's more of a boost more than anything else for himself, as he's continually gone for that play now. But here's the execute. They are onto the site. The knives are out for Pure. He hasn't quite connected with it, as he has to smoke himself off. And now he's just stuck here underneath dark.
Baits the tailwind. Is he going to check the corner? The right click comes through. Pure for one. 3-on-2 situation as Brando finds the classic kill. Rebo, though, makes his way onto the site. Now it's just down to Brando, while he's still waiting for Thwifo to rotate over, who has actually worked his way through the garden over to Tree. The Sheriff could be massive here. And beyond that, he's actually worked his way up to a Spectre. So Thwifo with the position to play spoiler. Brando, can you do anything to distract? He's waiting for the recon before they commit here, and he's going to have this in a couple of seconds. Here it comes. Can you find value off of this? The answer will be no. Brando actually catches one headshot. That might be enough, as Thwifo will now respond to one. Knows the last one is going to be low. He commits for the neural theft. Gets the info. Waiting for a trigger of some sort of a peek, and, well, just dancing around the boxes. Goes for the jump angle. Goes to now the Sheriff. Will find it through the corner of the box. The time will not be in his favor, but impressive nonetheless for Thwifo.
Half a second off. Half a second off there. But you have to remember that was an eco round for Pretty Boyz. And that was one of the closer rounds that we've ever seen for Moon Raccoons. And so now we've got the ARs, the rifles coming out for them. And will this be the final nail in the coffin for them, as Moon Raccoons, of course, continuing to have to force every last credit into this, as they need to run 5 more to just send this into OT.
Oh boy. But the problem is, like you mentioned, that was the save round that came through. So now Thwifo, once again with his usual antics, he's going to blindly fire it, and yeah, that's going to be enough for Frosty for first blood. Possibility for a second. It's Brando who takes advantage of the tracking dart. Hunter's Fury for stealthy, very desperate, trying to clear some space in front of the B site. It'll do well. Skelly and Reba will find too, but it's still Thwifo you have to deal with. And now he's on his second kill of the round, and he's just going to be a nuisance. Nice snap from Skelly. So, okay. Early Molly comes down. Spike will be planted. 2v2 potential to lock up this 8th round and keep them in the game.
There we go. Can they keep it alive? Stealthy comes up when his team most needs it here. Now, Pretty Boyz, that started it off well, right? Thwifo getting that first pick with the spam through the wall. He tried to back off and helped Brando get the second with the use of that with that recon dart, or excuse me, with the dart. And so now, Pretty Boyz, they're still struggling to just close this out, but I wonder how much of this is just them playing around a little bit too much.
Yeah, right. Because this very well, you figure, because it's going to be another light buy situation for Pretty Boyz, this should be round number 9 for Moon Raccoons. You win one more gun round, that could be 10 and then 11 to follow up. Yeah, this is absolutely possible. Big round coming through in the next 2 for Moon Raccoons. Aaron's going to get caught by a lot of damage from the hot hands, already forcing to use the healing orb. Brando, some information off of what looks to be a dart. Will try for some very aspiring shots with the classic. Won't connect for much, and Moon Raccoons all full stack the middle of the map. But the problem here is Pretty Boyz has actually worked their way through B main and A main simultaneously, so they could actually collapse on this.
Yeah, and so they just give up the B side for free. They're going to try and go for the post plants instead. Brando goes for the challenge. These shots not quite connecting for Thwifo there. A little strange coming out from them. Are they losing steam? Not time for it to happen. There we go. Anderson finds one, and now it's going to be 2v3.
Oh
my
paranoia. God. Brilliantly timed. Anderson wins 2 gunfights that he had no business winning. After that, able to once again tilt it, but if we've known anything about Moon Raccoons and the orbital strikes, they are desperate, aren't they?
They really are. As it seems like we got word from production And it's a lifeline, honestly. But Pure ended up disconnecting from this round, and fortunately, there isn't much we can do about it.
That's tough. That was a very clutchable round for Pretty Boyz. But we'll see the 9th round come through, and now it comes to arguably the most important round of the game for Moon Raccoons to try to secure their 10th, and really beyond that, will Pure be able to get back into the game? Because that could provide for an interesting dynamic if he's not able to reconnect.
Yeah, so we'll have a short technical pause here, I believe, as we try to get him back in. That was very unfortunate because, like you said, that was more than winnable. As we saw that Skelly was on 10 HP, and so it looks like we're trying to get him back in, and as soon as we can, we will get this going.
So let's just take a look. You figure this is going to be a full gun round coming out for both of our squads for Moon Raccoons. You've got Aftermath with the potential to again open up the middle of the map. He's got the End of the Shadows. You have a neural theft to use. Do you once again try to commit to Aftermath, trying to work the middle of the map? That's the big question, I think, in my mind.
This time around, though, while I do agree with that, I think they do. His space creation has been huge, and I feel like that's what's been able to enable players like Stealthy and Frosty and let them get back into this map where they were struggling. Well, in this entire match where they were struggling here. Yeah. So now Pretty Boyz, I think they need to have an answer for it, and it looks like they do. The Sova is already kind of hovering over there. That's Brando with that. Glypho, of course, has been just a stalwart sentinel over there with that Odin. And I don't think Moon Raccoons want to try and go back for that challenge. Again, he's been getting free kills. That's, I believe, 3 rounds where he's been able to open up with the first blood through the wallbang.
It's risky, right? I mean, it's extremely risky. You don't just want to give up B control for completely free, but it looks like you're absolutely right because you got Rebo, who's in a position to essentially at least make some spy cam trigger sounds to make sure that Pretty Boyz don't necessarily get too aggressive through B main, which they really haven't. I mean, outside of Thwifo using the Odin, we really haven't seen an aggressive defensive push through, with the only exception being the previous round where they were on an eco and they pushed through A, they pushed through B, they get a full surround. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm just interested to see what kind of comes through for Pretty Boyz, if they are going to commit a lot of the resources through the middle of the map, or, you know, do you try to play towards the outsides, towards the extremities a bit more, because that's where all the hits have come through. We've seen very little through really the A catwalk, with the only exception being a couple of rounds where Aaron shut it down almost immediately. Everything else has been, for the most part, just aggressive hits through B main. The only exception really, again, was that last round where they full 5-man stack towards the middle market.
Yeah, and so what is the answer for that? When B side is shut down, the way that Brando and Thwifo are holding it with the Odin and, of course, the Sova to back him up. And I think I like that kind of setup. Typically, like I said, we see the Sova player that's generally the one that's playing with the Odin on B site. And then having the A cat getting cut off, because Anderson has just been a force to be reckoned with. His boosts and his walls have slowed down every push that's come his way. So that kind of just leaves you with, of course, pushing through main, pushing through market, and also trying to go for that A main push. But those A main pushes haven't been the cleanest for them, and those were all really, really close rounds on the post plants.
Yeah, the only big success story that we can really kind of attribute to this attack for Moon Raccoons really has been to B so far, and even those have looked a little scattered. So, I don't know, there's a lot of things to kind of pit up as far as what's going to be coming through next, as we're still, again, waiting for the reconnection of Pure, who unfortunately disconnected at, I would say, arguably one of the worst times possible, because that retake was looking very possible, very doable for them. But we'll see how things kind of unfold. Are you kind of, I mean, have you seen enough for Moon Raccoons in these last handful of rounds to think that a comeback is possible? Or do you think it really is just the fact that we're looking at Pretty Boyz kind of letting off the gas a little bit? I
definitely feel that right now that Pretty Boyz have let go of the gas for a bit. Again, they've been playing very loose, and even though their fundamentals look solid, now we've kind of got, we've devolved into a really pug style, answering for the pug style on the other side that's coming out from Moon Raccoons. And so I think right now we haven't really seen as much. Again, they haven't been really challenged. This is kind of the depths that we've seen them challenged so far from the Moon Raccoons. But also, a lot of it just does attribute to the fact that they're not playing as serious as I think we were expecting them to.
Well, at least not as much as they were on Bayern. I mean, their defense was obviously pretty, premeditated when it came to what they wanted to do, and it obviously was working extremely well. But you take a look back on this, on how the attacking side has gone so far for the side of for Moon Raccoons. They're trying to do the same things they were able to do versus LmndStand, but I won't say not as efficiently, but it just feels like maybe the other side of the story that's more important to tell is maybe defensively, we're looking at a situation where Pretty Boyz is not nearly as dictated as far as this is where I'm watching, this is how we're retaking, this is how we're going to try to hold off these hits. It looks like it maybe is still a little bit of figuring out mode for them so far.
Yeah, again, this is one of those. This is the newest map, right? It's the 4th map that's been put into rotation. It was not in beta, and so there's still a lot of growth for learning here, I believe. But while a lot of teams, it looks like, have figured out some set plays, there's, I think, a lot of room for exploration.
Yeah, indeed the case. Well, we're still waiting on Pure to reconnect, so while we're waiting for him, we'll kind of step away from the talking heads portion of this show. We'll send things to a small break, and hopefully won't be too long before we find our conclusion of map number 2. Will it be Pretty Boyz winning another championship, or will it be a map number 3 looming for us in the waits? We'll find out when we come back after this. But welcome back. A couple of small issues after Pure had unfortunately disconnected. We did get everybody back into lobby, but apparently once they rejoined, all their settings went wild. So they're going to have to fix those things up, and we'll be jumping right back in with the same stat line that we were holding on to, which I believe was 12-8, if I'm not mistaken. So match point, 9-12, pardon me. Match point overall, though, for the Pretty Boyz, who looked really solid through bind. They looked very solid at the beginning portion of this ascent, but Moon Raccoons on the come up here when it comes down to their comeback effort.
Right back into things. We do have a 3-man stack by Moon Raccoons. And here's the flank coming out from Aftermath.
Oh, but Brando was actually able to read it just as he gets the kill. Pure for 2 right through A main, including information that the spike was dropped for a moment, but Frosty will pick that back up. So now 4v2. The opposite into the shadows has also been used for Pretty Boyz to rotate quickly defensively over to the A site. So a 2-2 split. We'll leave for really what you figure should be a 2v2 no matter which bomb site that Moon Raccoons wants to go to. The timing good. Rebo takes down Anderson, and now the information should be there, but just as soon as you thought there was going to be a free take, it's Aaron who finds the trade. Frosty there for the response. 1v2 situation for him to navigate.
He closes the door, too, so that might actually bait them into thinking this is for real. Also covers his flank for now as he's pushing up to attacker spawn. He heard that shock dart. He knows one's up in heaven.
This is brilliant timing for Frosty. Oh my goodness, you saw a world where Brando was going to put him down right there, but he finds the pick. He's got to run it back to use to try to secure this round. Going to use the hot hands to self-sustain. And apparently our last player is actually AFK. That's super unfortunate for Thwifo. So the 10th round will be secured, and that's really 2 rounds, not back-to-back, but 2 rounds that we've seen. Well, yeah, actually, pardon me, it is back-to-back that turned up a bit unfortunate for Pretty Boyz.
That is terrible. I mean, there's no better way to put it. No one feels good about those kind of wins, you know? So I'm just going to be blunt here about that. It really sucks that happened. We saw that happen with Pure. Now this time happened with Thwifo, and that was more than winnable, which was what I was wondering, you know, was Thwifo just standing there to, of course, maintain the 1-1 split over on A and the B site, or was it the disconnect? And that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I hate to say it, but this is a map that you feel like, outside of the disconnect and this unfortunate AFK, you feel like Pretty Boyz should be on their way to closing this one out, or should have been on their way to closing this one out. But now all of a sudden you go into a weird economical standpoint to where, can you even full buy into this? I don't even think you can. So when Thwifo gets back, you're going to be looking at a situation where, yeah, you might be able to force, but you're probably going to just go for a light buy, trying to play to secure the game before we get to overtime. This will likely be an 11-10 scoreline.
So this is one hell of a lifeline that they've honestly been able to get back. It's unfortunate that, you know, despite the early features that we typically don't see in a lot of like games being released now, especially even by AAA companies, right? We've got the spectator client, we've got custom lobbies on launch, and it's been great to see. But something like a tournament doctor, we need that, especially for competitive integrity.
Yeah, the pause feature is great, but there obviously have been a handful of situations where even the pause feature doesn't really give you the perfect situation at hand. So hopefully this will not be one of those extended pauses again, but it's just unfortunate that Pure reconnects and all of a sudden you lose Thwifo. It's just one bad thing's happening to another. We are hearing word, though, it's going to be more of an extended break trying to get Thwifo back to his setup. So we'll throw a 10-minute counter on the screen for now, send things to a break. Hopefully we'll be back before that timer expires. So stick with us here with our Fight Night Arena Championships. If we'll see whether or not we'll get a full comeback for Moon Raccoons or if it'll be Pretty Boyz going back-to-back. We'll find out when we come back after this break.
Here, by Goomba Squad. Molly gonna cut them off, coming up glass. 1 shot, 2 shot. Oh, gets taken down. Wow. But the flame do the third.
Revealing area.
2 players here, and
Oh
no. No! Left side is gonna hold 3 players, and Tai T, the one that shows up. Pancakes puts down Retro, but the spike is able to get on down. That's Trips, baby. Pancakes bringing it. Ooh, and the over. They're gonna get the spike down here, looks like.
Whatever. Yeah, they just get the spike plant. They get the ultimate charge. Nothing else really.
Yeah, that's it. Pancakes. Nice job. Pancakes 2. Meanwhile,
Wow.
Retro getting involved. An easy 3-piece. Break into. China Wen have got good positioning here.
Ooh.
And Pancakes is a big part of it. On the side, gets one to the back and one to the front. But hey, man, I'm here for the low tier guy, for the low tier characters. Ooh. CFB though, just getting it done down mid. Looks like blue team grabs a kill. Red team's able to answer on back. 3 players alive. Make it 2 for the defense. Here comes the smoke from China Wen. And all of a sudden, D-Cop's going to bust onto the scene, getting 2. Just like that. There's some information. We're going to look behind them, also up. Past the smoke. D-Cop goes right on through. Default spike position. Looks like blue team grabs a kill. Red team's able to answer on back. 3 players alive. Make it 2.
Already seeing the rotates coming out. Kev is ready for this. Takes the first shot, hits it. Ooh!
1, 2, 3, baby. Kev money. 4 Vs, 3 Ks.
One of it is, of course, on the offense. Ooh, Shanks. Don't even have time to talk about it there as he picks up 3.
2 scattered across the map, and Shanks is actually going to pick up Infred, who's making the rotation from the Melio Mariah.
Sight. Here's the first spray. Shanks with another one, but
There's
it's
a ton
J-Mo
of
holds it
players.
down.
Ton of players here. Wow. Everyone's from spot up, making the rotation now. 2 are going to be on the other side. 1 goes down. Good shots from Shanks. Now on the site is underrated. Looking for the plant. Well, spot up has 1 left.
But welcome back. A little bit unexpected, but we are jumping right into the restart. Looks like everyone has reconnected for us as it will be Moon Raccoons trying to secure their 11th round after a couple of unfortunate disconnects and AFKs. And oh my goodness, Dwifo nearly able to convert into Aftermath, who thought he had the kill much sooner than he actually did. Rebo with another kill into Brando. This is again a economical round for Pretty Boyz as they weren't able to fully purchase up. So with a 5-on-3 situation unfolding in front of us, plus a threat towards the B side, it's going to be on Anderson to try to work his way in, of which he finds 1 kill. It's going to be a Phantom that he's been able to pick up. And Jamerson now all of a sudden with Anderson on the site, this is doable for a hold.
Yeah, they're able to make the cross as well. So 2 players on site now in this 2v3. Defense of the site. Pure picks up the headshot with that, and that's going to be Moon Raccoons backing away from this now. But the res is there for Aaron. They've got the man advantage. How many weapons were they able to secure off of that?
I think that there's going to be at least 2 that are picked up, plus the Bladestorm is a possibility. Aaron, who actually reads the rotation, finds Skelly. And as he reads 2 more coming through short, runs out of ammunition. But there's a Hunter's Fury that's available here for Pretty Boyz. They very well could delay this plant. Anderson's going to toss out the Paranoia. Hunter's Fury comes through for a tag, plus the kill. No way. It's a little bit delayed. It's a little bit dramatic, but it's a thrifty round that secures the map for Pretty Boyz 13-10.
And Aaron, I want to say, is possibly the MVP for this defense, being able to get that res, being able to get the 1 kill. And it was surprising that he actually didn't get punished for that. You saw Skelly trying to rush for that. You understand that when a res comes off, you're giving away the positions of 2 players on the opposing team. And Skelly tried to rush that, but still got caught off guard. And Aaron winning that duel was so massive for them. Pretty Boyz will be able to do it, not in the cleanest fashion. We had some technical difficulties, and that's really unfortunate, but they will be able to secure it. That's 2 weeks in a road now that Pretty Boyz have won.
Look, I'm just mostly curious, is this actually a set 5-man squad? You know, with Aaron and Brando, like we'd mentioned a couple of minutes ago, this was the team the duo that was leading up the potential of Echo 8, especially at the PAX Arena. They put together a team kind of last minute after some drama unfolds with Fox and Leak and all that stuff. But this is a roster that I think I could really see going far. I don't know if Random Noob is still coaching these guys. I know that he was at one point in time, and I think if you're Random Noob, who's a guy who's got a lot of competitive experience behind the FPS scene, I think this is a roster that you can absolutely work with, and it's reasonable to sit there and say that these guys could be major competitors in the near future with some good time in.
I completely agree. And of course, we always have to have that discussion about the power players. And it's very hard to try and single one specific player out in this roster, as we saw on that scoreline. Of course, with a better sample pool to work with instead of a 13-0. Here, when it went the distance, that it was every single person contributing for this victory and having their rounds. And so it's going to be, I think, a very promising future if they stick together as a 5.
Well, we'll come to find out, they'll be your reigning champions, so we'll expect to see them hopefully back for more. Jamerson, final thoughts from you before we do our full wrap and send our fans away?
Definitely, of course, it was a really great look for Pretty Boyz, and I'm excited to see them again in this extended format that we've actually changed up. I hope the viewers at home liked it as well, the 2-night format where we're able to try and showcase a lot more teams and players. And so if you liked it, let us know, of course, if you hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah, and of course, for all of you guys that stayed through our technical issues, we, of course, send a sincere thank you. Jamerson, a pleasure working with you once again. I'm IHOLDSHIFT, that's Jamerson. Hopefully, we'll catch you guys back here next week for more Giant Slayer Fight Night Arena. But until then, we hope that you guys out there keep pulling it down. So long.